That's okay. Welcome back to COVID Radio.
I'm not dead.
We're here with two of the world's leading health experts.
COVID's weird for me.
It's fucking weird for everybody. Jordan, Zane, thanks for coming on.
3 hours of COVID. Here we go.
Welcome back to COVID Radio.
Let's talk about some COVID.
If you don't let Bill Gates microchip you, you're a fucking racist. I said it.
So at the start of it, I got a letter from my doctor, and I was on some immunosuppressants, and they said that they advised that I get off of them as soon as possible and that I quarantine myself. So I spent a month at the house avoiding everybody.
Wait, because you were on what?
Immunosuppressants.
And
I have an autoimmune condition.
Okay.
And basically,
It's penis reduction pill.
it's so big, it's not even fun. Like, my wife just complains.
oh god, I don't know how mine could get any smaller. It's like a helmet in the bush right now. It's like a thimble in a forest of sequoias.
Thimble.
A thimble. Did you hear this track all right? Well, the thimble. But so you quarantined yourself for? Yes.
I'm the interrupting guy.
We just...
Well, as long as we're staying on track with the COVID conversation, we should be okay.
So I just shut myself off for 3 weeks, and then reached a point where I was like, I'd rather die. And just started taking a shit ton of vitamin D, shit ton of vitamin C, and I already took zinc, and I also take it's NAC, it's N-acetylene, which is like just a free radical booster, but it helps suppress the autoimmune condition that I have. Basically, my body overreacts, which is really scary. Like when you hear about like how COVID works, like I mean, basically you start building up pus in your lungs, and that's what you drown on. That's what people are having to get on a respirator. Well, my body already overreacts anytime I get a cut or something, and sends too much to it to try to heal it, and it causes these like sores that start itching, and then I start scratching them, and then like it creates this vicious cycle, and you develop this condition called prurigo nodularis. And so like I get these like little almost like ant bites that'll just start itching, and then like if you itch it, it secretes just a little bit, and then you
So it works like what was it, histamines with ant bites or whatnot?
And so yeah, it was terrifying for a little while. And so like I was super hard with the mask and everything, and like just trying to avoid the public, and like I worked at Red Owl at the time, and that's when I was like,
This is really depressing me, by the way.
Well, just buckle up.
We're keeping it going for COVID.
This was your idea. Before we even started, your exact words was, all I want to talk about for 3 hours is COVID.
What else is there to do?
What's more fun, Zane? Anyway,
no, there are certain people that say Cahvid. I think I've been thinking about switching over. So I've been thinking. I said it the other day to somebody. I was like, we were talking about it, and then I was like, say it, like try it, Cahvid, because like you know, like, it's much more like affluent. I feel like.
I don't know what to say to that.
I mean, she's got COVID in my city.
She got COVID!
COVID is much more...
She's like from fucking Long Island or something. Like, darling, you really must get out there more. COVID only comes once a year.
It's the COVID, yes.
It's like consumption. It is to die for. But no, the
COVID.
The COVID. How long? So you said it was like 3 weeks before you started. I guess like being like, wait a second or something or.
It was supposed to be out of my system in a month. I was like, I've been sitting here at the house. I'm about to go insane. I felt like my boss was getting ready to find a way without me, because I was the GM and he had to take over all of my like the in-person positions that I was doing, and that sucks. And
right.
So then it was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. And I just started wearing a mask before everybody else started wearing a mask, and I had access to N95, so it's like, well, I'm safe.
He was wearing a mask way before I
And
They're really popular
Yeah,
right now.
well, I mean, he was
They are.
he was on the forefront of
I've always been a hipster.
fashion.
Oh man,
So then, it just went back to work, started treating life as usual, kept social distancing as much as I could. And then...
that's about as much compliance, for lack of a better term, that I've done. Well, I'm not immunocompromised by any means, so if I were to sequester myself away from the sun and mask myself up and like deprive myself of vitamin D and perchance make my oxygen levels lower from wearing a mask all day. I'm not a health expert. I'm just saying, look it up. Shit happens to different people with this disease. And with me, somebody who is not vulnerable to it in those regards, for me to do that, to mask up, aside from what my ego thinks a mask is, but health concerns, to mask up and to avoid the sun, I would literally harm myself by doing that. So luckily, I've been working from home since it all happened, and I actually now get more time outside because I have windows. I have fucking windows in my office.
Yeah.
So like I can be outside. I can hang out with my pussy Bonkers, my little black pussy cat. He's the shit. He's
And it's
good.
beautiful out here. I mean, we're out in the sticks. There's moss hanging down.
Yeah, very
There's
green.
like canopy trees. It's very it's a beautiful sound. Why do you live out here?
Because this way I can do whatever I want.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
I'm not causing a ruckus or any harm. My neighbor, they all know that I'm a musician, and like it's not uncommon for midnight on the weekend and to hear like guitar coming from the house or like something. They don't care.
He's an artist. You know what that means, though. Down here, that word means something else.
Do you know that I had your dad for drawing 2 for a semester?
I did not know that.
Did you know my mom was also an art teacher before she retired?
I did not know that.
Yeah, she was an art teacher as well.
He sounds like he's prepared this. What? Just say it. What?
I had old Clyde Edwards.
They're on to me. Call in the score.
So was there a tussle or something?
No, not by any means. He was a very nice man.
Okay.
He was a very talented artist. I was 18 or 19 at the time. I discovered what alcohol and pussy was, and I was just like, that's my life now. Really, I knew everything. I knew how the world was, and was just like, oh, I'm just gonna like party and all this. So I dropped this class. I remember whenever I dropped, I hadn't been there for like 2 weeks, and he's like, where the hell have you been, young man? And I was like, oh, this guy's actually a good dude. There's actually concern in his voice. But I think he still probably doesn't have any more, but he had like, for years, like he had a couple of my pieces that I just left up at VSU. And just, I didn't want to pursue an art degree. Didn't like it at all. Took a passion out of it. It's kind of like when I was getting paid to do audio for other people. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to learn audio so like I could use it for me, for my ego, and it kind of sucked the magic out of it for me to have it to be like, this is your career. The creative aspect of it is your career. When I would much rather be like, what do you need me to do that I can be so good at that I can make you enough money to give me money in return. Like I just want to work, because it always made me feel like a prostitute if I'm like making music for somebody else. You know what I mean? And I don't like that feeling at all. But yeah, your dad was a teacher of mine right at the cusp of my dipshit years.
I mean, I'm sure he was that guy to a lot of people, but I mean, his setup was pretty good. I mean, he would go in, he would teach his classes, and he had it set up to paint in there too, and he has that Protestant work ethic, and I mean, he busted his butt, and I think a lot of people look at the artist or the painter as someone who does not bust their butt. But I mean, I think he put in as many hours as one could do it that you can do at any craft. But I mean, you paint all day and then you teach a couple classes. He literally is teaching a class, and I imagine he just walked away and worked on his painting for a little while. And I don't know. It seems like he got pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's doing that professionally. But I mean, really, he was painting his paintings.
That's what I always noticed. Anytime I would go into your dad's into the studio space, because he was my advisor at BSU. He would always be working on his own paintings while he had a class going on. I always thought it was funny. It's he's just working out these quick sales that he's gonna bust out while he's showing them how to do it, and then next thing you know, while teaching class for a semester, he's got a new gallery to kind of show.
There was one year where this was early 2000s where I don't know if I should say it out loud. It's not a big deal, but he made more money selling his paintings than he made at the university, and it was really exciting at the time. And he shouldn't hit the table. It was exciting at the time because, it seemed like, all right, this is it. This is his shot to, sell paintings.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take to get to that point? Where
Quite a while.
I mean, you can't even sell a painting, especially down here, for $200, $100.
Well, it depends on what you're painting.
That's tough to do.
The biggest market for art down here is tattoo industry, and the South Georgia area thrives in its tattoo industry. It should not be that good. It shouldn't be, but it's so many great shops and fantastic local artists, and that's the dominant as far as art culture, I guess, down here. But as far as non-body art, I mean, shit, dude, you're talking about landscapes. You're talking about reprints and things where, how'd you put that classical Protestant sort of mindset where it's I don't want to think about what it is. I want to see a barn, and that's what the painting is. And that's what a lot of people down here want. That's what a lot of people buy.
It's not a barn.
Spending money on that is for sure.
Yeah.
Jessica works at the Turner Center, so that's what you see a lot of. But there's also a lot of amazing art coming into this town that no one goes to see.
Right, and that's also not to knock on landscape artists or anything like that, because there's phenomenal landscape artists and people who do a phenomenal job of reprinting. But again, those art is such a broad infinitely broad category, and all the different mediums and ways to express the human condition subjectively. And so whenever you just sort of put your blinders on, it's no, I like this and I like this. It's kind of when people are I don't listen to that kind of music. It's well, have you heard all the songs in the genre? I'm sure there's at least one song in any genre that'll fucking connect with you in some way.
I told Colter that I want to talk about art, and so I guess this is it. But I'm bored of it already. Can we? I thought we were supposed to talk about Cahvid.
What do you think the Cahvid looks like? Because we can't see it. We get the little CGI art. It's funny how we're programmed to accept that as being real, though. Is the CGI art that they'll put out,
It looks way more like a cute little pony, and they're no, they'll never believe that.
Make this thing look like a landmine, but not a landmine, sea mine. Is that what it's called? Where it's got the spikes on it.
Jesus, it's on the.
Did you
buoy bomb?
Did I get COVID? No,
I don't think you got COVID.
I don't
or
believe
anything.
I've got COVID.
Did you have to do any precautions or anything like that? I mean, obviously everybody's life has sort of changed this year in one way or the other.
I think that when I go grocery shopping, I've made a big effort to where I just close my mouth and I don't breathe out of my mouth, and I really think that if more people just closed and then breathed out of their nose, it would be, I mean, not as effective as a mask. And, again, I'm not a health expert, but it seems like it would have a great effect. If you can't afford a mask, maybe, or if, you're washing your mask, it's in the wash with the dry cleaner.
I forgot to put my mask.
It's just a general...
I wonder if you could learn how to, like, talk through your nostrils in that circumstance. Like, because, you're still...
like you're miming?
Yeah, kind of. And you're still talking, like, with your mouth. But instead you try to push it more through your nostrils. And you could flare them out to, accentuate.
I'm not a scientist, but, your mouth is like a bigger hole. So it seems like more Cahvid is going to come out of your mouth and your nostrils. I have a ruler, so I'm pretty sure, like, that adds up.
If you just direct your nose down more, you wouldn't have to social distance by 6 foot. You could get it down to like 4, and then we're almost still way closer than you want to be to anybody in Valdosta anyways. Social distancing in Valdosta, like, I think 6 foot is a little bit closer than I want to be even then.
I'm a rather polarizing fellow, so normally the distance is already there for me socially. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of it has to do with just if we're going to tackle this problem, let's talk about ingenuity, because in this case, what I think would be best is if...
That's a good word. We need to talk about ingenuity.
So, okay, I'm at the grocery store. Now, you two gents can see me act this out, so the people that are just listening, let's just use our imagination.
It's very energetic. That's what's happening.
So, hands on the buggy, right? Turn a corner, going down an aisle. All right. Now, shoulders are squared up, like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pounce on something. Head, 90 degrees completely downward.
It's a good technique.
I've got straps on my shoulders that are holding a set of arm bars coming out with some mirrors angled just right so that I can see what's ahead of me.
No talking.
No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. I don't even grunt. Right?
No grunting.
No, I've got a sign on the top of my cap that I'm wearing. So if my head is down, the sign is now facing forwards. It says, "Hello, watch out."
Like a senior graduate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Just, "Hello, watch out." So that way people see. The width of the font is large enough so that people keep the 6 damn feet away from me. So that way when I come through, they have to back up. It's like, oh. It's not on a propeller, but they get the idea. It's, it's a subliminal hint while being pretty direct at it. I don't know if it'll work. I'm just saying that's what I got to start with.
Are you aware about the regulations on font? And I'm being serious. I recently found out about it.
I know personally, if you want to be taken seriously, Comic Sans is not the way to go.
No, I'm saying
Joker Man.
When you're in a building, like let's say like a public building, and you're going to the bathroom and you see the sign or maybe like a room 107 or chiropractor or the font.
I believe it's pronounced Terrasa.
The font is there are rules for according to how large the text is, how far apart the letters can be, the width of the. There's like whole books of these rules, and you would be required to. You almost need like a font lawyer to install some of the signs in these buildings, and I didn't know about this, and it really just blew my mind that like somebody made that job up for somebody else.
Yeah, like a bureaucrat discovered what fonts were. And like, hold on a second.
We're creating a whole industry.
Who's deciding who's using which font?
That created a whole industry.
I've got
just
some
like
kids
boom.
that need a job.
Right.
Let's get a grant for this.
So you want to be in the font industry?
You want to put up a sign?
I've got Times New Roman offering me a pretty penny. What can Ariel do for me?
So I'm going to steer this back into.
Well, no, because I like fawn art. I think fawn art is actually pretty interesting, and I did not know that the bureaucrats had gotten that far. But it makes sense because, like, think about road signs.
I should have brought a book. We could have,
I don't know how to read, Zane. That's why I have YouTube.
Absolutely insane.
It tells me the words. Thank God McDonald's got pictures on them menus now.
Really?
I actually don't know.
I don't either. That's the second McDonald's reference I heard today. A lady was complaining about them not having the steak right now for her steak, egg, and cheese, and I was like, you eat those? Like, I really didn't have anything. Whenever she said that, she was like, yeah. I was like, okay. Just, can I get my lawnmower part?
I will eat some fast food. It's not good for me at all. But McDonald's, though, man, like, I saw a video probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was a hot minute ago where they showed the fries at McDonald's. They don't break down. Like, it was a month later. They hadn't started to break down yet.
The hamburgers will do that too.
The burgers, I think it was a week or something. Still gross, I don't eat fast food beef at all. That shit's fucking garbage. But yeah, the McDonald's fries, I was all like, oh, their fries are awesome. They're probably still, every McDonald's fry I've ever had is still molecularly inside of me in some way.
Corn.
Yeah.
You just watch the fry come out on the other end. It's you're going to see that corn again. I heard someone talking about how, just like the fries, they are genetically modified to be those fries. The potatoes used for those fries are McDonald's potatoes.
Yeah.
No one else gets access to those potatoes.
Yeah.
And they're saying that the same thing they're doing that to corn now to make it to where your body will digest it better. They're tweaking little things inside of it to make it to where you don't shit out whole kernels. You're just gonna start actually using little parts of the sugar that they're manipulating.
There was a friend of mine. His dad passed away now from cancer, but while he was fighting and whatnot, they were sort of looking, I guess, learning, I guess, as far as what got him there, because he wasn't a smoker or anything, and seemed to be diet is what got him there. And they were telling me that there was a particular corn king, some corn giant in America, that the way their product or corn works is that it uses junk cellular tissue of it's synthetic cells that they make. So whenever you eat their product, you actually become less human because you are absorbing these nutrients and cells that they're inorganic. They're not real. They're kind of like little capsules that they'll load with, I guess, potassium and other science words that I don't know about. But that over time, that is what caused this that tumor or whatnot to start manifesting itself, was because of the overconsumption of all this inorganic material had sort of formed. Is it metastasized? That's the word for it.
Sure it is.
But that's what they're that seems to be what it was diet.
Colon cancer, that's the number one cause, is eating processed foods.
Yeah.
Everybody points a finger here and there, but it always comes back to just overdoing it with processed foods. And that's why it's so prevalent here in the South. Because there's people with such poor diets.
And they don't talk about that with the COVID crisis either.
Well, that's all. Look forward to nothing but fast food restaurants. Right?
That is a little frightening. That seems to be the
I thought it was
direction
funny
it's going in, I guess.
With
what juice? I'm sorry.
Why can't they just make a sandwich? Just here's a sandwich. I just want a sandwich. That's all I really want. I don't need whatever you were just talking about, all those inorganic, like, I'll take a sandwich and
from what I gather, it's like a double-edged sword, right? It's kind of like the argument for like fossil fuels. So like, well, fossil fuels, if left unchecked, you can do some damage to the earth that can take longer than a human lifetime to repair itself. So there's problems with that, right? Yet at the same time, the innovation from fossil fuels has brought us to the point we have artificial intelligence now. We didn't have to have everybody working on the farms anymore. You were able to take the farmers' products and ship them, mass produce them, send them out to all different areas of the country. You didn't have to drive to Florida anymore to get oranges and like the time of year. Like they were always readily available. So it allows people to pursue other things. And one of those things was like the tech industry that we got to pursue. So I mean, like there's like pros and cons with it. Just the same as whatever the hell we were talking about.
Well, sounds like
the food and inorganic stuff.
well, the model of eating in a fast food restaurant probably is probably gonna go away.
I have not been back in a restaurant since all this stuff started going down.
I mean, why do you want to eat in a McDonald's anyways? Like,
Well,
I want to eat in there. I want to eat it in my house.
I really don't want to eat in a McDonald's, but if I'm like traveling, I'm just like, I just want to get out of the car. Then sure, but I'm not even referring to that.
I still don't think I'd even want to be in a
wanna
McDonald's. I'd rather just pull over on the side, get some McDonald's, and then pull over on the side of the road. But I can't remember the last time I had McDonald's. I'm trying to think of like fast food that I fucking love. Like, I mean, Taco Bell is just so fucking easy to drive through. And I mean, that one's another one that's just like...
Zaxby's is pretty boss.
That's not fast food. Stop it. What's wrong with you?
What is our obsession with
Chick-fil-A?
It's just, why are we obsessed with fried chicken now? It's just like, it's going to be nothing but chicken. Chicken is going to replace the burger. Fried chicken. I mean...
Soylent Green is people.
It's a fantastic sandwich. I mean, it's much better. I'd much rather have a fried chicken sandwich than, let's say, a Cuban.
Really?
I think it's moving up the charts.
I'm not a big fan of like pickles. So like the Cuban, like for me, is just like, well, I mean, half of it, sure.
Have you ever had like a homemade pickle where they put some jalapenos, give it a little spice?
Oh yeah, there's
sweet or like
where are the cinnamon candies called? Red Hots.
Sure.
Years ago, somebody had like candied pickles with Red Hots in it as well. Those are good, but it's like as far as like something I enjoy, it's just not something I enjoy. Like it hits my palate really hard, the vinegar taste or whatnot.
I think they've been holding back on us with pickles. I think the pickle it's been held down, and I think that
pickle oppression.
Yeah, pickle it really.
I think this is a false narrative.
Just trying.
I just had some fresh pickles yesterday that the Gatchels made for us. They were amazing.
I can't stare at these waves. It's bugging me out, man. I'm seeing
just don't
the waveforms. I have a clear
Shut your eyes, Barry. No matter what happens,
the waveforms. I'm looking right at them. Yep, that's me. I'm clogging up that space right there.
That's every time I leaned on the table. That's every time I leaned back.
The first few were kind of a challenge because I think the first like two were at like the tattoo shop, and so like the room tone was just like omnipresent like the whole time. So like I've gotten pretty good with I know for myself and my volume I need to be back away from that guy and it needs to be closer to the guests.
I'm just dreading hearing my voice. I know that I'm like a southern Kermit the Frog, especially when I get excited. It just goes up in pitch. So there's going to be about at least a minute or two of cringe before I turn it off. It's like I can't even listen to myself talk.
That's a good name for the podcast.
I'm sure my mom will sit through the entire
Cringe.
episode.
I personally don't see the southern Kermit the Frog, but that's a very good self-critique.
Let me finish this one and go on to the next. I'm sure it'll come. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to poop at some point during this, and so it'll go up a little bit before then as well.
I I think the only thing I've been like, kind of like, that's a really bad idea no matter what the circumstances, has been food. Like, because nobody wants to hear somebody like eating and whatnot on like a podcast.
Absolutely.
So I had somebody that was like, oh, you want some food? I was like, nah, but you can go ahead and finish it, and we'll. I think I made up some like polite lie about like oh, I can't have food near the mic or something.
I was like frantically getting ready to come here for this, and it's like, what do I do? And then I was like, wait, I haven't eaten dinner yet. I need to put something in my stomach. So I ate like a banana and a cinnamon roll for breakfast. I was like, oh, bring some crackers. And then as soon as I sat down, I heard like that twice, and I was like,
it's kind of like you sneak something into the movie theater. Like,
mortified.
Oh my god, dude.
Popping open a beer in the movie theater is the most rewarding thing, because it definitely like gives the like, yeah, motherfucker, that's what I just did. If you're mad, you're jealous.
Try opening a bottle of wine in the middle of the theater.
Champagne.
I feel like I've drank wine with you in a movie before.
I can open a bottle of wine with I mean, screwdriver. I've done it with a fork and a screwdriver before. That was fantastic. It depends on the cork, really. But I think... yeah, if you lock me in a room with a bottle of wine, I think I could find something to get it open.
Have you ever done the shoe method?
The shoe method?
Yeah, where you put it in your shoe and slam it up against the wall, and it's like the pressure of it hitting the wall makes the cork start pulling out. It's like the fastest way to open a bottle.
Wait, you put the bottom of the bottle inside the shoe?
You're just using the shoe to keep from breaking the glass. So it's just something to absorb some of the impact, where the wine itself is what's causing the pressure to hit. So you don't want... I mean, you could probably just do it with your hand if you were man enough to do that for an hour.
I'm definitely not man enough to do that.
I'm not either. I barely pinched my finger and it swole up and turned blue. And I'm like, I can't play guitar anymore.
Dude, I'll become a bitch if I can't play guitar. I guess to nobody, to the cat maybe, but I mean still, like I'll be like, that's fucking stupid. Like I had you can barely see. I got like this little tiny little
I can see it.
Cut right there. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning on like a Friday night. I'm putting my glass up on the sink as I'm going to bed. Drop the glass. I thought I dropped the glass and it was falling to the floor. It fell like half an inch. But I brought my hand down like it was like falling to the floor to catch it, and I just karate chopped like right through the glass. And like I see the wound, I'm like, oh, fuck, man, I know what kind of wound that is.
It's that moment before it bleeds when like you can hear your heartbeat.
It didn't stop bleeding either. Like I like wrapped it up and was like, all right, maybe it stopped a little bit. Nope. All right.
You live by yourself. You need to get some super glue.
I have some. I didn't know if that would be a good idea, and then
Absolutely.
when I got to the ER, the guy was like, "Oh," he's like, "Probably don't even need a stitch for that, man. I could probably glue that up." I was like, "Sweet, that's what's up."
It's the best pain ever. Whenever something won't quit bleeding and you put super glue and it's like, it's working.
I would do that for like calluses, like in my hands from like playing or something, you know, where.
Have you been playing a lot lately?
I've been mixing more
lately,
just because of, I guess, where I'm at in the project. You know what I mean?
So how close are you to being finished?
Ideally, probably like 3 or 4 weeks. Not far.
That's exciting.
Not far.
How many songs are going to be on that? Are we allowed to talk about it, or is this?
I mean, we can talk about whatever.
We're talking about.
But...
Talk about you.
I think there's like somewhere between like 13 or 14. It's big. I mean, it would essentially be if we were in vinyl days, it would be a double album.
That's awesome. Are you going to put it on vinyl?
When I have money to spend like that.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. Vanity project. Oh, yeah.
Do it for yourself. You can get like a single etching for relatively cheap. I mean, like I think it's like $300, $400.
Yeah, if I were going to do it though, man, I would get like probably like 50 or like something like whatever the bulk is, the smallest of. And that way, whenever the EMP apocalypse comes, you know, I have something that'll they'll be there. I don't think
it's only June.
I don't think that'll happen. I think our government is already sort of prepared for stuff like that. I think that's kind of what the Space Force stuff is for, because some of it's also underground. Because people are like, "Oh, Space Force, it's like up in the outer space." No, it's like high altitude and subterranean. Like they're.
What are you talking about? All right, let's pretend that I don't know what you're talking about, which is true. But
I don't know how we got here. I'm probably trying unconsciously to dodge from talking about.
All right. Well, I mean, we can start at subterranean, or I was just curious. If you've taken this opportunity,
you've been practicing.
You know what I've done? You know what I've done is I played a show in March, which one? I get March and May switched around. May, January, February, March. Okay, so it was March, and I haven't touched an instrument since then. Yeah,
dude.
I thought that you've gotten a new instrument doing it.
No, I haven't touched it.
Oh, I had ordered a bass. Fucking busted ass company. I'm a find if I remember their name. They're not even worth me looking at my phone right now. They haven't sent it to me. They stopped accepting or responding to
credit cards.
eBay?
No, it was Amazon. My texts or whatnot.
Tweets.
So I just haven't had time this week to because if I'm gonna go after them, I'm gonna get everything assembled one shot. And be like, hey, this is what we got. What
did you get? I don't understand.
I got nothing, Zane.
What did you try to get?
I was trying to get a bass. I used, I had some, I found a bass really cheap. It was just going to be something I could just run DI through, just be hey, I can make some sounds with some DI bass that sound good. So I can't remember what it was. It may have been a Squire for all I know.
It doesn't matter really.
But,
it's an electric bass.
Yeah, and
tune it and
came with a tuner, some strings, some straps.
Turn the things. And
it was like a starter pack, but for me, I don't really need a starter pack. But that was a deal for a starter pack. I haven't gotten it yet. But I haven't played a show in probably 2 years or so.
I was gonna say
it's been a hot minute. Well, I had sort of a mental breakdown a few years ago. So after that, I kind of started. I was like, all right, I need to get my shit together. I need to be a more conscientious person and a better person, and be more self-aware, and be honest with my interactions and all that stuff. So, and then. There's a certain niche of ideologues in our local community that they just really don't care for me. And then people in their circle have personal reasons that they don't like me. And so I become a villain for them as well. And that's fine. I don't care about stuff like that. But whenever those were the same people that were, not to toot my own horn, but were riding my dick when I put out other music, I don't care about their friendship or their fanship or anything like that. To me, that's cowardly. If somebody has a personal problem with me, Jordan and I have had a problem. We had words. We almost threw the fuck down on each other. We didn't speak for probably about 2 years.
Me and Zane have done that too.
So that's how it should be, though.
My fucking mouth.
That's how it should be. It's if you got a problem with somebody, you address the problem with them.
Yeah.
And then you decide from there, all right, can we de-escalate this? Is it worth it? And with that instance, I was like, I'm in public. This is not my space. I need to back off. So then I think it was 2 years later, we ran into each other, and somebody was acting fucking stupid. And we both cracked a joke at their expense. I was like, oh, that's all it is, man.
In the moment, people get intense, and then people either eventually learn self-control or they don't.
Precisely. And if you write off, what's a good way to put it? Even though it wasn't the first time we met by any means, but to use an example, first impressions mean a lot, but they're not the lasting impression. You know what I mean? So when you look at somebody's character and who they are, you should look at it over time and what kind of person they are and whether or not they can think for themselves, act for themselves, all these things. And not to talk for you two, but in my opinion, the three of us sitting here, we are all individuals with our own personality, and if people don't like us for who we are, then fuck them.
It's really hard, like now to even, get to know. I've known you for how many years, but this is the longest we've ever talked. Right?
When we're not shit faced.
No, period. This is the longest we've ever talked. Probably minutes in a row.
I think we've all sat outside at the pub for very long times, but I get what you're.
But
in a focus, yes, you're right. In a focused manner.
Getting to know somebody these days is. Really, it's just like what did they say on Facebook, or what did they?
Yeah, exactly.
What short little sentence on social media did, and how am I going to interpret that and spin it?
And then hold it against them when you see them.
Yeah, Your courage is behind a keyboard.
Build up, yeah.
I wouldn't get too worried about or because if you think about it, if you're on stage, the very act of that is very like, look at me, you're on a stage with light shining on you. If you think too hard about it, you'll be like, what am I doing?
Well, that's why I love it. You know how hard I practice for 2 weeks after a show? It's like, I'm never fucking doing that again. That sucks so bad.
My own fuck ups, my own failures, always been a big lesson. Like for me, and with me, good advice I was given was, you're always, you can always get a pass for, something wrong you did, but if you get, the second time, you're not going to necessarily get a pass, and that may be from direct individuals, keep cheating on your spouse. It may be, the cosmos themselves, be like, hey, you got out of going to jail this time around for doing something, and then next time around, you're not so lucky. Could be with you getting into fights with folks that are your friends, and they're still your friends, and then you keep doing it, they're not gonna be your friends. So all these different things. Again, it is the first time we've sat down and had focus, because I think that
I could easily judge you from what you post on social. And I don't even mean easily, but I could just take you to okay, that's what you're all about. And I really don't know. To be honest, the podcast, listen to those episodes. I'm just here to talk to you. I talk to him all the time, so I don't really care about talking to him.
I'm just here to talk with you guys.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is about people in our community, that it bucks this notion of the Southern culture being this. How would you say, homogeneous or homogenous, whatever the pronunciation is, this sort of critique on Southern stereotypes where you can't have individualism, you can't have intellectualism, and I think that's absolutely absurd, because the most compassionate, intellectually diverse, and even ethnically diverse people that I've encountered in my life have all been tied to Southern culture in some way or the other. And I think that speaks for something. And I think to a lot of folks that don't live in the South, and they don't know that small town mentality. And granted, our town isn't that small, but still pretty small. But I think they're, it's they can't empathize with it. Kind of the same way if you're a country bumpkin and you never traveled, you never listened to different genres of music, you never talked to people from a different church or any of this stuff. You just find yourself in a little bubble. And I never liked echo chambers or bubbles. I never did.
Dad's from Jersey, mom's from Dallas, Texas. I grew up here in the South, and I will say, for the longest time, I admittedly did not appreciate the South until, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, to where if somebody said something bad about the South and the culture or whatever, it was actually, no, I think I'm a Southerner now.
Fuck you.
It's actually got way more flavor than wherever you're from, Maryland, or
Well, you'll even have people, and don't get me wrong, like my fat ass is self-deprecating just as much as the next fellow. It's fine. But whenever people start trying to apply it to like a whole community or something, these are usually the same swath of people that will take a select category based on like whatever their group identity, politics bullshit is, and then try to apply like this opinion to them. Like example, I was on a dating app, matched with this girl. She seemed very intelligent, and somehow like politics came up, and
I'm pulling them all out so I won't have to do that again. I'd rather them be hot than have to hear the ice.
It's good sound effects.
That was Colter's line under "I'd rather than be hot." Is that on his? I'm trying.
Wait, on the eHarmony thing?
But she had something. I think she asked like what my stance on like abortion was or something like that. I'm like, good God.
Wow.
I'm like
jump out there and go for it.
I'm like, all right, you sure? Let's. And my opinion was that, well, legislatively, I'm against it because I'm against the government telling anybody what they're allowed to do with their own body. Like, I've got tattoos. I am very much against the Controlled Substance Act and imprisoning Americans for drug-related charges, for treating that as a crime. There's no victim with that. Yeah, it has to be a victim for it to be a crime. So, like, I'm like quite liberal on like that stance with it. And I apply. That's my focus on the same thing with. Though I don't have a uterus, my opinion would not differ if I did. It would be, it's not the government's fucking business.
You don't know if you have a uterus.
I'm pretty sure, sir.
You may.
I'm sorry, I just called you sir. I didn't mean to assume that. Oh, man, is this thing on? I am in hot water tonight.
If you had a uterus, I don't think you would know.
I think I'm barren.
But you have to throw the possibility that you could possibly have a uterus. Like, have you been scanned?
You're right. I'm not an expert.
You just assume that you don't have a uterus.
I don't believe I do. If I were a betting man,
math would say that you don't. But
math ain't always the answer. Sometimes you need a little bit of incorrection. You know what I mean? A lot of folks want to correct something. I say incorrect it first, then we'll talk. But no. So I was like, yeah, I have that stance. You know, my body, my choice. I totally agree with that as far as it goes to legislation. I was like, but I think Planned Parenthood's an evil company, and I think that morally, for me, I think abortion's gross, and I am not pro it, but as far as the act of it, but as far as legally access to it, legislation, oh, no, the government has no fucking say-so whether somebody can or cannot. They've been doing it since before we had America. You would go and see an alchemist of some sort, or, you know, some wise sage in the woods would make you a potion.
Here's some mushrooms, it'll go away.
But you would, though. Like, you would have, like, folks for this since before you had bureaucracy and all that. So,
well, it's not always the right time.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not my decision to make. So, and if it were my decision, I have my opinions on it. But as far as legally and government's responsibility and all that, nah, fuck off. Your body, your choice. My body, my choice.
Yeah.
But when I was like, I thought that Planned Parenthood's evil because it was started as a eugenicist company. They're not the only abortion or reproductive health service provider. They have competitors. They've just got some shady shit going on in the background that seems to be systematically racist. Whenever the founder says we want to systematically eliminate brown and non-white peoples from the planet, sounds pretty much like some evil shit to me. So I don't like that company. So she turned it around to, you know, all of you white MAGA Trump supporters are all the same. It's like, what? Like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm white, but
white.
If my voice did not give it away. Sound like a fucking
There's a Y in there.
slurry newscaster. But no, I was like, yo, did you even fucking read what I just said? And she didn't. Like, she said something in there about you're worried that black people are going to, I guess, like, fuck white people out of existence. I was like, what the fuck is this nonsense?
Whoa.
I was literally talking about Planned Parenthood has this ideology, and I think it's bad. She's like, oh, well, still, it doesn't, that doesn't match. So she still, like, continues to lecture me on this. So because even I didn't fit into, like, this little pigeonhole or idea of, like, what what you would call it, and a combatant or opponent would be in her mind, for her to feel victorious or, I guess, convert me, whatever the fuck she's trying to do with it. But
I'm trying to imagine from her perspective what's going on. She's like, well, I don't know why I matched with him.
yeah,
Like, I guess that's the point of the fucking app, is to, like, figure out, like, how you're going to communicate.
oh my god, like,
You can't communicate.
I just thought those were for getting laid.
I mean, if that's all you're concerned with, that's cool, I guess.
I started dating Jessica before those apps really became popular, so I never got to experience them. So it's like, to me, I just assume that that's what the kids are using them for. It's like, whenever you're done with those apps, then you can settle down and find you a good wife. You know,
But that's the next app, is settle down and find you a wife.
I will say this: most of my more rewarding relationships I've had with, like, girls that I'm still, like, chums and friends with, I didn't meet them through, like, a dating app. I met them organically, you know, just through life. So
I think that life can make people that would not normally get along find a friendship, and then that's what makes them who they are towards each other for their life.
oh yeah, like, easily, like, all the prosperous relationships I've had, we were, like, always, like, BFFs with each other, like, as like you should be. I mean,
Yeah, it's your best friend. That's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be.
yeah, exactly. But having said that, I have made some, like, really good friendships through dating apps. But as far as, like, lasting relationship, nah, it's like we're talking about, like, communication is sort of broken down, right? It's like it's preparing us for the 22nd century already, and we're just getting a preview of sort of where that's going.
Multiple choice dating.
Yeah, where, like, everything is predetermined, and you may not even meet your wife or your husband until the day that you marry. You know, it's like some future dystopian far right future that has, like, this, like, nice glossy far left sort of
As
appeal
into
to it.
conspiracies as you are, like, what if those apps are just being used by the people up above to try to point people together and try and, like, pinpoint, and almost, like, I guess in a way that would be eugenics, like, where they're trying to make certain people focus in on other people and make them think that that's what will make them work.
I would not be surprised if, like, someone in that industry is either, not necessarily, though they could be directing programs in that way, but at least the idea of collecting data for the potential of doing some sort of program like that. You know what I mean? Like, the at least, if nothing else, of course, I mean, shit, dude, they had the essentially wireless internet in the 1970s, like with the ARPANET. You know what I mean? And we got it 20 years later. It was between 4 facilities. I think it was USC, a military facility. There's 2 other ones. But yeah, they were just sharing data with each other. And then 20 years later, we get email. So who knows what the fuck
Why
is
would they
going
not
on.
look at our data? They should look at our data.
They've been looking at our
need
data.
to look at it better. Like, I'll tell you, here's what size shirt I am. Find it, show
Large
it to me.
pushing XL.
I will buy it. I don't need you, like, I'll tell you exactly what I need, and, you know.
Do you know how much shit I bought from them advertising it to me? Like, people get freaked out by it, but it's like, that's what I'm paying for. That's $150 a month.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
I'm in between 35, 36 sleeve length. I think I'm 17 and a half. I'm going to try to work that down to 17. During Cahvid, I've been trying to get in shape.
Do you think that a slimmer neckline would help you fight the Cahvid?
Yeah. I feel like it's all, like,
It'll
I
help
could
you
gain
not
weight,
give it
but
to
if
me.
it's in my neck, it's like grosses me out more. I'm like, geez, your face and your neck.
That's why I've had a beard ever since I could grow one.
I think
I'm still waiting.
Dude, I could not grow a full beard till I think I was like 31. I think that's when I was like finally able to.
Yeah, I'm screwed. I'm about to be Jesus.
Oh,
33. Still can't.
It's a magical number.
I actually think it might. Like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it started happening. It's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I've been able to be a very fucking lazy shaver for the past 16 to 18 years. And then we took family pictures the other day, and old Zagorski, like, with his beautiful photography, you can see this weird little patch over here on the side, and my wife's like, it's there. It's like, son of a bitch.
if I get ads for beard trimmers, I'm going to be annoyed. Like, no, I want this shirt, and I want it this size. You're not listening to me. You're listening to my random conversations of things that I'm not even talking about.
Have you ever thought about something and then your phone was like, hey, check it out?
I'm okay with that. Take my data. Just take it.
That's happened with me before, man, where it's like something that, like, I know it sounds like I'm fucking nuts when I say this, but I've thought about stuff, not said it aloud, and been scrolling through, and something fitting what I'm thinking about is marketed towards me. Now, granted, this could be I'm so dim-witted and the AI is so advanced that it has pinpointed how stupid and predictable my thoughts are.
I bet he's going to be into this next.
Do you get those, do you suck at guitar? You need to practice. I'm like, screw you. Like, I thought I would fall in a category where I would be like, no, he's good at guitar. Like,
Do you want to teach guitar lessons?
yeah, like, but no,
God.
I get those are the, like, has Facebook, Matrix, like, knows I'm a bad guitar player.
First time I think I met you, I saw what a good guitar player you were. You had a
Guitar
stomp box. Like, it was like a piece of wood that you could stomp your foot on. It would give a little, like, a
Pizzo.
Hollow Northfield sound, Mike Tappan.
Mike
What's
Tappan
up?
made
Yeah.
that?
What's up? Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
That was a...
Mike makes really good products,
Yeah,
actually.
yes,
Really, really does.
That was a silverware, like a fancy silverware container. Usually it has the like the velvet, so that we just rip that out and I mean it's pretty simple to do.
It was cool.
It's just a piece of pickups, right?
Yeah.
My buddy Tyron, I ran to him, and he's like, my friend Zane's been.
That was a good time.
All right, cool. I see this fucking giant dude like come out from like the shadows. I'm like, damn, that's a big motherfucker. He sits down, like starts strumming along. But I've usually always been like the guitarists I like are the guitarists I can do stuff I can, right? So like I'm self-taught, so I'm not really good at learning other people's
We're all
stuff.
self-taught.
Are you two like self-taught as well?
I don't like that phrase. I disagree with the phrase.
I still don't
are you
consider myself a guitarist.
You don't like
Did
the phrase too?
Did I drive to somebody's house and they practiced the guitar for me, and then I like went home and like paid him $50 and was like, oh, thanks for practicing for me. Yeah, I'm really good. Like, no, we all do it. We all
I had
It's just that grind where you have to put in the time to actually develop it.
I had rhythm. That's how I always found was the foundation of it was like if you can like get the concept of the whenever it comes back around syncs up that like you keep going like it's mechanical, and build up dexterity that way. But it took me a while, like probably like 10 years before I was like at the point where like I knew I was talented, not necessarily good. I think that's the wrong way to approach it from a self-critical way, like your own musicianship. You shouldn't be like, are you good? Well, of course you're good. I mean, who the fuck cares about that? Like, you got some flair. Like,
some style.
Yeah, that. So like I always like seeing like bands that like do stuff I can't do, and guitarists where it's like I can't play that. Like I'm not gonna try to play.
I remember at the Wakeskate, there was their first couple shows.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where
Festival.
you saw Zane?
Yeah,
the first one.
I've been friends with Zane for I've known Zane for a long time, but the Wake Park was the first time I ever saw you use your tap.
I think that was the only time I used it.
Really?
Yeah.
That may have been actually the only time I saw you play acoustic. Because I think the next time I saw you, you were playing a stand-up bass. I was like, you play the bass? I was like,
He plays whatever he feels like
But
practicing
you had the
for
good
6 months to
slot that
perfect.
night. It was like that was a wild set. That was awesome. That was like
Right when it got dark.
honestly it made me. You were like this southern. I don't want to say Tom Waits, but I mean you were almost like our host for the set. You know, I felt like you were like guiding us through this music. You know, I could see you with like a top hat, and you know, it was awesome. It was awesome. My mind was blown, and I wanted to be up there on stage. Like, man, he needs a guitar player. But I always think that anytime anybody's playing something, like they need a guitar player, they need a bass player, I need to play with them. But they don't. You were great. Like
I've jammed with a lot of musicians in my days. Locally, the only one whose ego and my ego coincide with beautifully on multiple occasions was Blake Clark.
Sure.
Fantastic musician.
It's hard to do. There's a lot of people that want to start bands, and it's like, I mean, it's going to take 10 bands failing to start, where you have one practice and then never get together again, and then one maybe will stick for a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, with me, it's like if I have an idea in my head, then normally like I'm such a control freak because like playing live is awesome. It's unparalleled. Right? Well, then, like, playing with a group of people in front of other people. An unparalleled rush. Equally so is a long-term project of making an album. And, like, I found more reward from that. Like, my delayed gratification, my big orgasm after working on it hits me harder than anything else I found related to music. So, whenever I've got an idea in mind, usually, and I'll meet other musicians, and sometimes they'll hear my ideas and they'll be like, oh, you know, it'd be cool. You know, it'd be cool. You know, it'd be cool. And my ego is admittedly so large that I'm like, well, we can come up with other ideas, man, but like...
This is what I wanted.
Yeah, like I've...
A true collaboration, though, is really rare. I mean, it's very rare where you can have, let's say, 4 individuals, and all of them equally add and make a song together, and not one person dominates. I mean, it's impossible.
It's way
you
easier
need
with 3.
somebody
Yeah,
who has.
I agree.
Well, you need somebody who takes control and does it. And
So I've been playing bass with Matt Zagorski and Jake Barton. Jake's playing guitar, Matt's playing drums, and I'm playing bass. And it's one of...
Matt's another multi-talented motherfucker.
Absolutely.
I think I
think
told
that
him once
what it
how
all
much
ends
I...
up circling back to is if you practice, that practice keeps coming back, and
Yeah.
you get better. Like Zane, while he's peeing, I'm going to talk about him, will be like, I want to play this instrument, and then he'll be gone for 6 months, and then he'll come back and he'll be like, look what I can do.
Yeah.
And then he's playing the stand-up bass, like destroying it.
Yeah.
He got the hair with slide guitar, and now he can make that beautiful, like, little singing sound. Matt's definitely one of those two, but playing with those 2 guys, there's something weird where definitely you feel that ego where it's like, but this is what I wanted, but I've been able to squash it with them, and I've watched them do it with me, where, like, you could tell that I was trying to push something and they chose the same thing.
Yeah.
And we've created something where when we write a song, we'll be like, all right, that doesn't sound like what we've been doing. And so now all 3 of us are answering to the same thing, which is what we do as that band, which is very cool to do because then it starts making you focused where the leader of the band isn't anybody in the band, it's making it that sound.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun. And it's been really rad playing all these kids that are like just coming out of high school, like at the DIY house, or like just finding out about music. And so I'm looking at them like we were like 10 or 12 years ago, where like this is what they think music is, and that they can't understand that there's other styles out there that other people can embrace. They're like, this is the only thing that anyone should ever be doing, you know?
Right.
And I think we were all there a long, long time ago and progressed into learning about music. And so it's fun, like, playing music for them and watching them just, like, turn their nose up, and you're like, oh, like, they don't have a single breakdown in their songs, and it just keeps changing rhythm the whole time, and then it's so abrasive and loud, and when we're playing, we're just like in like zen, like we're not even thinking about what we're doing.
Well, you should always make the music you want to make. You know what I mean? And one thing I've definitely, I guess, come to realize is that if I do another band or something like that, where it's other people, then I want to just give me one task. I want to be in control of using my voice, or in control of doing the guitar or bass or a string instrument. I do not want to do both at all. And it's because I'll find myself compromising my ideas to cater to the band's ideas. I've just learned over time that that's not something I want to do. I've ended up losing songs before because it's like, fuck, man, I wasted that idea.
I totally know what you mean.
So, but
you have to play that like politics, though. I mean, if you have an idea, everybody's got an idea for a song.
Yeah.
I've got an idea for a song. I think you like it. Like, we should play it. Like, no, you've got. That takes 6 months of thinking ahead and
the DIY band scramble, the DIY house organized. I signed up for that. It was a pretty rad idea. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna play with all these people. And what I immediately realized was that everybody that's in bands, or that wants to be in bands, that should be in bands, are generally in bands. Like, it was most of the people that normally wouldn't come out of their shell to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the same thing. Like, we all came together, it's like, well, do you have a song? No. Do you have a song? Do you have a song? And then I had 3 riffs, and I was like, I like this. And then I guess I totally experienced what you're talking about, and they're like, well, we should change this. And it's like, well, no, this is something I've been working on for 3 months, so fuck you. This is my idea.
Yeah. Just usually with me, what I like to do is sit down with musicians, and people are like, oh, well, so you got a song? It's like, oh, bro, you just start playing. Let me find out where you're at, because
No, you just start playing.
Well, I'll depends on what I'm doing, right? So if as soon as I find whatever key somebody's in, then I'm golden. I can rock in it. Now if they're doing jazz and stuff where it's like, all right, well, yeah, but it's a D sus5 right there, guys, and we're transitioning to an A minor 7, so we need to make sure, I fucking hate being told what to do with creative pursuits.
Anything for that matter. Tell me what to do.
Well played.
That's American. You're an American.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, that's my privilege. Don't tell me what to do.
Zane and I were both in a really good experience with a band called Loomis Orange, and
I saw you guys before.
And all of those songs were written by the lead singer Wade Kruger, and it was
machine. He's a machine.
Guy wakes up 2 hours before work to practice guitar and write songs, and so every practice, every week, he would have an entire song written, playing perfectly clean, and singing along to. And I think, and as long as I've been playing with him, we probably have 25, 26 songs that he's crunk out.
Jesus.
But
some people are prolific like that, though. Usually, with me, I'll find myself in a period. So when I work on a project, there'll be certain songs that I've been working on for years, and then while I'm working on those, more ideas will just pop up, and I'll blossom out ideas from just from working, get my mind in a. It's kind of like when you start working out and going to the gym again. You lock into certain things that you couldn't do a while ago, but now you're conditioned to it. Your mind works the same way, especially with music creation. But yeah, the perils I've found with working with other musicians. There's there's a buddy of mine, John Weeks, awesome dude.
What's up, Johnny?
Really good songwriter, and he asked and invited me to come and play like a lead with them while they were like jamming. Zagorski was there, and
John's been looking for a lead guitar player for quite a long time.
well, there was a dude he was with that was I want to say he was on the drums, but I mean, again, I can't remember what Matt was playing.
He was playing the bass. He was crushing it with big nasty tone.
His fucking bass tone is awesome. But the guy behind the drums, like, we went through one song and like I found it and I was just like, all right, like cool, I can groove. You play it again and whatnot, and there was like a pause and like a breakdown or somewhere like doo and like you have to stop, and my note was like ringing out, and like after they got done, he's like, okay, now on that second verse you forgot to pause, and you need to make sure you remember how to pause. I was like, bro, I literally have never heard this song before. like ever. Like I know, like I've heard a couple of John songs before, but like I don't know this one. So if I screw up, I'm sorry, but you guys just keep trucking along and let me figure it out. And then they went through another song, and same thing again. Like afterwards, he's like, okay, so you got to make sure that you really hit these pauses now. I was like, I haven't heard this song before yet, man. I'm sorry, I don't know where the pauses are. And then the practice didn't even finish, like at all. It just sort of like fizzled out from there. I was like, all right, well, I'll just see you guys. See you later.
I mean, I don't know if
this was
it's gonna take me 6 months before
this
I
was
get your
years
pauses.
and years and years ago.
Was it at a place downtown?
It was at a place downtown.
So we were all we practiced in the same spot then. That was like one of the raddest like practice spaces I've ever been in.
It was really nice with the steps when you walked in.
That was so we had figured out like if we get in with like one band, we could probably afford rent for someplace cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And so Wade started shopping around a little bit, and I think John Weeks was involved with that as well. And that same guy that you're talking about, I never met him the entire time that we did it until like this day. I think I met the guy once and like was blown away at like kind of the person that he was, but he took over that thing, kind of screwed up the practice space as well.
I found most artists and musicians, most of us, we're all narcissists, right? We're just smart at it because we find a way to channel our narcissism into something that people enjoy rather than making it all about ourselves. You know what I mean? So like artists are like really rare because like we can look at the world in a different way, and we can pull ideas that don't exist and bring them into reality. Like it's something really profound and special about that. And yet at the same time, like 50 to like we'll say 66.6% of us are just total douchebags. Like we are, man. Like it's just this like we expect everyone to notice like how awesome we are or something. And like with me, like as like a teenager and being in a
Speaking of douchebags.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But whenever I was like a teenager and had a nu metal band, like almost all the punk kids were like so fucking mean to us, and like there, not all of them, like people that weren't into like the clique and whatnot, like they would come and like talk to us. We had like friends that were in punk bands that'd be like, hey, you guys want to come and play with us? Like, fuck yeah, man, we'll play with anybody. Like we liked like how diverse like the scene was, but if you weren't having them breakdowns and you didn't have these things that people wanted, it's like, fuck, man, what if I don't want those things in the music I'm making, you know?
And that goes back to what I said earlier about the 10% on each side. It's just that one person that's is able to bring down an entire community. You know, the ones that are like voicing their opinion and saying what someone should and shouldn't do, like are creating a stigma with that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that at all. Actually, I think it's insipid seeds that people sow whenever they do that. Whenever they try to create this, it's like they're fetishizing divisive nature, right? And they're like prodding and stirring the pot just to display to people, hey, look at me. Look at how I'm calling out these people. Yeah. Look at how I am virtuous and noble. And anybody who is on the side of morality and what's good and righteous would know that I'm on that side and you should be too.
You know, I once had this.
Eat my dick.
I had he's like a generation before, older than I am. He once told me.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
He told me literally, and this is verbatim, quote, "You can't play jazz in Valdosta." And he wasn't saying like it's not a good idea. He was like, "Don't do it. Like, don't play jazz." It just blew my mind. Like, really? Like, what year is this? I mean, here's a musician that probably could play the shit out of it, and I would love to play with him. But, I mean, just, like, bluntly saying that, I don't know. I've never paid attention to anybody as far as the music that comes out. I mean, it all comes down to who you're playing with. I mean, that produces the music, and you shouldn't select the music that you're playing. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
If any... That's normally a big. Whenever an ultimatum is given, 99.9% of the times I'm going to rebel against the person giving me an ultimatum, and
tell me to breathe.
Fuck you! I'll die right here, right now.
But I mean, the music doesn't like. It's not like. You don't do it on purpose. You just like do what you can. You know.
I think some people do it on purpose. I mean, think about it. There's people that they're incredibly talented musicians. Some of them, these incredibly talented musicians, are good people. Some of them are very intelligent people, but they may not be good people. But there's definitely a good mixture of artists, musicians in Valdosta. However, within this, it seems to be a common trait of some of these really talented musicians that seem to just
he's talking about me. What did I do? I'm sorry. I should have played something else. I should have played a different note.
They'll have personalities that want to watch the world burn, and yet they want everything with their music to be structured or set, sometimes even determined by other people, wherein they don't create anything new. All they do is parrot, which makes me think that whenever these certain people do this sort of a keyboard warrior type bullshit, and they let that permeate into the culture and the artistry in like Valdosta, I think it speaks volumes to the fact that probably a lot of their beliefs are also parroted as well. Because if you can't really think for yourself in a creative aspect, then chances are you're not really thinking for yourself in a logistical aspect or philosophical aspect either. So I find that normally people that are more versatile with what they can play, I don't know how many different genres of music I've seen Zane play. Like, I really do not know. It's unfucking fathomable that, like, you have, like, that, of all the, you know, if you break down musicianship into all these attributes, like a video game character, right? Like, go with me. And, like, your versatility category in there is abnormally high. Like, that's a blessing.
I just get bored easily.
Warrior, mage, barbarian.
Talking about me.
The barbarian favors the stringed instruments of the north.
It's funny
the
you say that.
dulcimer being in particular.
I guess music, the same way with me is the same way with my life. I try to surround myself with people that are way better at me, and I just hang on for dear life. I don't think I've ever thought that I was a great musician. I'm just like, I kept up. Like, I did it. I've always been more working on things, and it's what I did with bikes that was the same thing. I was never worried about being the fastest.
Right.
It's I put in the time, and I ended up being pretty fast there in the end. But like, it was always working on it. That was what excited me.
You should compare yourself to who you were, not to what any external source is.
Yes.
You know, like so, like work ethic of a musician would definitely tie in with that as well. And plus, I mean, like. Shit, man! You and your wife like had the record shop going on.
That was hers. That wasn't me.
But I mean, still, like as a household, like you're both like carrying the stress together. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So like it's a lot more than just one person carrying it. It's both of y'all.
It's always working on it though. I mean, it's never. I mean, anytime I play, at the end, I'm like, no, that wasn't it. Like. And I'm disappointed. Like, no. That wasn't me. That's not me. Hang on. I can do it again.
Do you get more of a rush from a live performance or from listening to your music recorded?
I like both. I really found a different avenue once I made a short film and it was like, okay, it's time for the music. I really enjoyed the fact that I could hide behind. Pretending to be something else, or I didn't have to be me. I could just do whatever was needed, and that's I started singing literally just for the first time I ever like recorded my voice with music was for a short film, and it was like this is great. This is I'm gonna play this personality, and I don't ever have to do it live. I don't ever have. So I mean, like both, I guess. But you have to keep your chops up, and you got to play live, and you have to deal with that pressure, and that's good practice too.
It's definitely a different kind of pressure. Well, I mean, with me, like it's just me with my dick in my hand whenever I go up, like and I play. You know, most of the time, it's just me with my guitar. So, the one thing I have always tried to do is I'll get bored with a singer-songwriter. Like, I just will. Like, it's just coffee shop, background noise. I'll be like, hey, you want to go outside? It's a nice day. Let's go sit outside. You know what I mean? It doesn't captivate me in any way. So I've always tried to bring in, I guess, like, this MC, like, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
like,
awesome.
Like,
awesome.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah. So it's like bringing in, like, stand-up comedy, like, into, like, the performance as well. It's where it's like, all right, I don't want to lose anybody's attention. I'm an attention whore, but I usually don't want the attention until like when I'm ready to get it, I'm going to get it. You know what I mean? So like it's a weird way to tap into like a deep part of your ego and then go on stage to where you're just like, no, you're going to listen. I have power in a microphone. And you're going to listen to everything I say. And if you don't like what I'm talking about, then you can walk out. Of course, I'm not going to say that because you want people to stay. You don't want to be like, you don't like what I'm saying, go there.
Every time I've seen you play live, I mean, you definitely captivate them. Like most singer-songwriters in a coffee shop, it's like, all right, he's jerking off. Like, he is not here for us. He's here for him. Yeah. And he's excited to make $50 to do this. But every time I feel like I'm thinking of like a Red Door show and at the original Ashley Street, you put on one hell of a performance one time. You had your chain and everything as part of it, and it was like something that drew you in, you know? And so, I don't know where I was going with that. You have to sell yourself whenever you're doing something like that. I personally always get so uncomfortable when someone's singing to me, you know?
It makes me feel weird, so I usually try to... It's a trick you can do in social settings where you don't lock eyes with somebody. Instead, you just focus on the forehead, and it makes them think you're really talking to them. You know, uh-huh. But I mean, clearly, I'm not like looking at you in the eyes. You know what I mean? But in a social setting, when you're going like this, so like I'll tap into that sort of like I don't care like mindset whenever I get behind a microphone. But it's so unnerving, man, because it's like if you've never done it before, it's kind of like imagine standing buck naked, jump roping in front of every person you've ever known, living or dead, and half of them are applauding, and the other half are just staring and like looking disappointed in you.
I just stare at my balls.
I can never.
46 minutes of this. Oh God.
I'm not looking up once, bitch.
What if they want an encore? Fuck.
I did it this long.
I could never do what you do. I could never I couldn't. I'm so much more comfortable just like, let me stand back here, and then I don't want it to be my loss or my gain, you know. So
normally with
I enjoy just supporting people.
With live shows, I really don't even get like that big of a Rush album anymore. Like it's just I don't know. I would rather like focus my time on just like making like more projects. Like if I focus my time on performing live, then I think to myself long term, idealistically, where is that going to get me other than self gratification? Now, other people get, yeah, sure, like, oh, you remember that? Oh, sure, yeah, but they're just fleeting memories is the point, right? However, if I dedicate my time towards making albums instead, then I have something tangible that I can show, like, hey, I didn't just fuck around and waste my time and my talents while I was here. I made something. So pursuing that gives me a much greater sense of purpose than playing live. But speaking of the chains and whatnot, I was talking to somebody about like me like working with like writing music with other people. And I was like, can you imagine like me going to like the first band practice and like, all right, fellas, I got a great idea. Now I'm gonna whack this chain repeatedly for like 4 minutes, and then you guys just all sing along with me. I've got words. Everybody would look at me like I'm a fucking nutcase.
But I think Zane and I would both be like, okay, like, if that's what you want to do. Like,
that should be done more. It should be done more.
As long as it doesn't fall over.
I mean, I do think the problem starts at like, well, we're up here, so we should play the guitar. And like maybe you don't need to. I mean, maybe just
it depends on like what the song is.
I want to do the chain too. Can we both do the chain?
I haven't done another chain song. I'm trying to leave that behind me.
I guess I've reached a point in my life where like playing music is like my boys' club. So like as busy as I am, like I have a family. Up until last week, was working 60 hours a week, and so like when I get to play music with my friends, no matter what band it is, it's the same thing for me because we are relaxing together. Yeah. It's like a way to unwind. Like drink a few beers, like talk shit, like catch up with everybody from what's been going on throughout the week, and then play some music. And like it's the best thing in the world for me for recentering myself.
There's something magical with male bonding anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's a primal feeling with it where like you get away from your daily responsibilities or daily selves even, and you tap into like a group activity. And as like musicians, like that's a really select niche of a group activity. So like whenever you can find people where it's just like, oh, thank God. Yeah. Like I can jam with somebody, you know what I mean? That's a really rewarding feeling in itself, and unparalleled too. Like whenever you can feel something that everybody's just sort of making up off the top of their heads, and as long as you don't focus on it, I'll find myself, as soon as I start thinking about the improv, then I'll miss a note or like fall a little behind the rhythm. I'm like, shit, quit thinking. Just
isn't that oh shit moment where you like catch it like the longest second in the world? Like
really is. I'll find myself doing it on podcasts too, in between pauses that I'll make where I'll be like, fuck, what the fuck was I going to say? It was really sounding profound, and because I'll picture like words.
It wasn't that profound.
Well, no, because I missed it. But I'll see like these words connect to it, and I'll be like, that's exactly how I need to phrase this idea. And then everyone will be like, I understand.
Of course, yes, it's a brilliant point.
Well, they may not say it's brilliant, but they'll be I get it. But sometimes all that'll come out will be like, 3/4 of the syllables, and they're just sort of mushed together at the end.
I think that there's a lot of different outlets. At least there was before Cahvid, for playing music, and I mean they're all it's all the same. It's all I play live. I've played in cover bands. I've played original music. I've played strange avant-garde music that nobody will ever hear in my own home.
My friend Alyssa had shared some article that she came across where it's was it All Nation? It's like the Clear Channel, but for like concert venues, right? Where they're like trying to like corner the market on like venues, like from this COVID crisis, because they've got the bankroll to be able to shut down all these independent venues and whatnot. And she plays bass for a band out of Portland called Lord Dying, and they had canceled their tour. They were on tour with Zach Wild, Black Label Society, I think is his band, and like had to cancel the whole tour because of the COVID thing. And so like she's been working on art and whatnot, but she had shared this article about All Nation trying to essentially get a monopoly on like venues, and there's some artists that are coming out, they're petitioning the federal government not to go through with whatever All Nation's trying to lobby for. But like Dave Grohl was like one of them.
Jesus Christ! Anytime someone's reached a point where they can lobby with music, it's over.
Donald Trump actually he had one bill or executive order that he passed that was very pro musician. It had to do with Spotify, iTunes, all of these streaming services, to where pretty much most of their capital was screwing out the songwriters and the artists' royalties. So I think it was like Kid Rock and Puff Daddy and some of these like big name like musicians, but they were musicians from before Clear Channel sort of like took over the entire music industry. Like that end of the 20th century, beginning of 21st century. Anybody that was established in the music industry, like they sort of like rode that crest into like this transition where they're at now. So like they have been getting screwed over from like these streaming companies where they weren't giving enough money back to the songwriters. There's friends of mine that their plays have got like tens of thousands of like views, and they've made like $2 like collectively as a band because of that. That's fucking robbery, man. Like,
I have a buddy who crossed through Valdosta for a couple years, and he's in LA, and he's been in LA for probably 8 or 9 years, and he's producing music. He's just getting closer and closer. He has songs on the charts. He's doing film. He's doing TV shows. And he's doing really well for himself. And we talked right when the Cahvid, probably I'd say it was maybe May, I'd say. And he was telling me about in Japan it's already been happening to where they're doing these live streaming concerts, and the top act in tips made $130 million. And if you think about it, now is the time for innovation. And now, while everybody else is sitting on their laurels, figuring out if you can make one step forward, it's going to be 10 steps.
right.
You can get so far ahead in this time. That's
Yeah.
But
it's a Nipsey Hussle quote. Sometimes you gotta take 2 steps backward to take 10 forward.
If you're innovative now, if you think about it, the ability for camera views and you could put on a better show then you could, you don't have to go to a bar and deal with the bartender or the people there, or maybe your ex-girlfriend is there, or you don't like this guy. It could eventually, it could be a better experience than having to go, sports is better to watch on TV. You go to a baseball game, you're 500 yards away. You can't even tell what's happening.
The thing that concerns me is
poor person.
Well, yeah.
Maybe for you.
gonna be a baseball
I'm
game.
not some poor person like you. I come and I get up close. And I get blackout drunk and I get kicked out. And it doesn't matter.
So we should be
people like
adjusting. We should be adjusting right now.
Well, it depends on how we adjust, because if it's going to be like stuff where it's forcibly mandated from like government officials, that's a step backwards in the wrong direction. The innovation has to be voluntary. And I know that sounds ridiculous that like, well, companies aren't going to do that. Well, yeah, they will, especially right now. There's pretty much a threat of like, hey, you got people that can essentially take the world over in big chunks if they decide to use military. That's where we're at right now. So aside from our own civil unrest, there's madness that's happening elsewhere over the planet right now. Like the whole planet's like in fucking disarray. So
What happened? This is how little I know. Right at the start of COVID, there was the whole thing where it was somewhere in the Middle East dropped the price of oil, made it fall out the bottom to prod Russia.
it's more.
What happened with that?
I'm not sure exactly what happened with that. I know exactly what you're talking about, but like stuff where it's like economic and financial conspiracies, they're kind of hard for me to wrap my head around. Probably because I've always been in like the lower tax bracket of like everything. You know what I mean? Yes, I am definitely in the nosebleed. I'm in the nosebleed sections.
I've
Gladiators
never
only
been
against the
within visible range at a sporting event, y'all.
I walked down to the first base line before the game started. That was cool.
You can do that?
Yeah.
I thought you'd get in trouble if you went down there.
Not until the game starts. I was like, sir, get back to your seat. Fuck, what were we talking about?
My 30th birthday, I got to be ringside for Fest Wrestling.
Nice. I didn't even know Fest was a thing until I think Matt Zagorski like posted something like one of his other bands that he plays in. I think have been in there, and like I ran into him like afterwards. I'm like, how the fuck did you get like even invited to a festival? He's like, oh, I don't know, it's pretty wild, dude. I just knew people, but like that place was fucking packed. And then he took pictures and whatnot.
Press pass.
Yeah, when he wasn't playing, I was like, good God, dude. I was like, it's fucking like an hour and change south of here. That ain't far at
Gainesville's
all.
awesome. The food there. Whew. Back when I was super into cycling, it's a beautiful town to ride a bike in.
Did you ride a bike to Gainesville?
No.
Probably.
That's what I was like, I don't think he would have, but
Well, there's
I
just
wouldn't be
not
surprised.
not a convenient route. Like I've ridden to like
Convenient. No
well,
roads.
yeah, because like I-75 just goes over
Island
swamps
and
and shit.
Well, you could take like 94 and like cut over, but it's just too many bubbas with trucks that are fucking pissed off at you for riding a bike. Like
That's what I've been doing in the past couple of months. Is I got a bike and I started riding it. Yeah. It's I'm trying to zen out a little bit and lose some neck.
Some neck.
I don't like my neck.
I got myself a couple of barbells. I call them MILF weights. They're like 7-pound barbells. They're like bright neon orange. But I mean, I get even minimal exercise is better than no exercise. You know what I mean?
I think you have to beat a man weights to get them in black. It's just pink until you get to 25 pounds.
I was at my parents' house and they had some barbells. I was like, you guys using those? My dad's like, yeah, they're mine. I was like, never mind. He's in the big boys. He's up to 15 pounds.
I fixed the lawnmower for my dad today.
That's a skill. I wish I would have taken a shop or a drafting whenever it was offered to me in high school. I took
I think the same thing.
I took journalism and art and drama.
Completely worthless.
Yeah, well, I played football too. Also,
Did you?
Yeah, for 3 years. That's kind of how I got like fucking broad shoulders and whatnot. But my elbows down to my fingertips never hit puberty, so I've got still abnormally small hands.
I noticed that when we came in.
Yeah.
Your hands are
Very, very, very tiny. Very tiny.
I didn't take any of those. I was homeschooled up until high school, and so high school for me was just like the whole fucking time. Like, it was horrible. Like, it's like, I'm supposed to do this homework, and I'm failing all my classes because I'm not doing the homework, but I'm making A's on all the tests, and this is fucking horrible.
But you can fix a lawnmower. So what are you complaining about? I can't fix. I was
of a similar ilk
though. I discovered
that
in high school though.
I discovered, like, from a pretty early age that, like, I could grasp concepts really, really easily. But, like, the homework, it wasn't challenging to me. It just seemed like busy work that we should have done in school already.
What it is.
So
they're forcing you to put in the hours.
Yeah. So they have a way to, show your progress. Which, I mean, I understand it's a better way than, I guess, like out west, they'll be like, oh, we don't use numbers here because those can be microaggressions to students who have autism. So we just use shapes. And if your son, let's see, he got 2 purple rectangles. Okay, so that's good. That is good. However, in shapes, he got a red circle. So we need to see some improvement from him in shapes. Again, we don't call it math here. It's shapes.
Wait, is that really a thing?
I don't think that specifically. I think I'm just talking about my
I'm not leaving the South, damn it. I just became that Southerner that goes up to New York and just smiles at everyone the whole time. Just, oh, look at this one.
Yeah, people shit talk the South outside the South, and, like, people are the nicest they can be in the South. The problem is that 1 out of every 4 persons down here is a fucking bigot, and they're very loud about it. Doesn't matter what circle they come from, but that culture is just like, nah, I don't like them. It's weird. I know.
I think people are starting to become more intrigued with the South.
Well, it's because it's weird, right? Because we've been given this stigma from the Democrat oligarchs of the 19th century that everyone down here is like some backwoods, idiotic bigot.
Check. I didn't say check or bigot.
I mean, fucking worry.
All 3 of us immediately look at the computer.
I was thinking
like
check,
it's
and then he
said. But yeah, so, like, they'll like if you're watching TV, or excuse me, if you're running a news station, right, and you want to get somebody to sound idiotic, you give them a Southern accent. Next best thing, they give them a hood accent, which has a Southern drawl on it normally as well. So, like, they'll use this to program people, their audience, into thinking that is of lesser intelligence when you hear that accent. They do the same thing with British accents to make you think that someone is eloquent and intelligent.
See, it works the opposite for me. It's like they have that British accent, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, they're an idiot.
I cannot tell you what 2 + 3 is, but I can tell you that...
Man, growing up in the South, I'd be hitting on this girl, and this guy would walk up with a British accent, and then it just fuck it up for me, so fuck him. That's how I feel.
It's kind of like, it's the... was it the rare exotic quality, right? So, like, whenever I went up to Jersey, I lived near Philly for like 4 years, and there'd be, these Jersey girls would be like, well, why don't you have a Southern accent? Like, I do have a Southern accent, but not all Southern accents sound like, hey, y'all, skibbity bop-a-doo. Y'all want grits and some chitlins? We'll fix it right up. But they literally think that, like, that's how everybody down south is, like, talks. It's like, bro, like, you go to, like, Louisiana, I can't understand any of those fucking people, dude. Like, that fucking Cajun, like, thick, like, Creole accent.
I went to New York for a bike race. Fixed gear, no brakes, bike race. And I had 3 different people tell me that I sounded like Kenneth from 30 Rock. It's like, fuck you.
He was from Macon, right?
Yeah, he was. So, the exact opposite of what you experienced. They're like, you sound like the fucking stereotype. I got second place out of town there to a guy from New Jersey. So
Jay-Z.
That's pretty wild. How many people were?
over 100.
Holy shit!
Yeah. I was a fucking beast back then. And so I went to New York for 2 weeks to do this race, like with the intention of doing this race, and it was when I was super big into the old fixed gears. And this race, it's called Munster Track, and it is specifically you cannot have any brakes, and it has. I think that you can ride a single speed, but you just can't have brakes. But it always attracts like
Good
the
God.
like hosses from all over the nation that come in, and they'll go to New York and descend on it and do this race that I think there were 26
Flying
checkpoints.
flying through intersections, just like past red lights and
I
With traffic?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
This is in live traffic. I went from
it's nuts.
Fuck that, dude.
yeah. I went from like it started in Brooklyn and went onto the island, and then went like up to 60th Street, hit some checkpoints there, back into Brooklyn, and then I think ended in a park there. And I mean, I knew that I couldn't navigate like the people from New York were. I mean, it's messengers that are doing this, and whenever
They know the streets.
and so I found this girl Heather that I'd raced at the North American Courier Championship with in Atlanta, and I was like, "Can I please follow you?" And she was like, "I'll try to help you like keep up." And so I went to New York a week and a half before the race to learn how to ride in New York because I knew that it was going to be difficult. And I spent the entire week and a half trying to figure out how the red light systems work, how you were running red lights, because it's this beautiful thing with traffic there. I don't understand how fucking Podunk Valdosta can't get their shit together, because New York can manage this traffic where it goes in a fucking wave, and if you stay with the wave, you're good to go. And it's the same thing on a bike. Like, if you get stuck at a red light and you run that red light, you can catch up to the green lights and just keep going in a straight line. Like, it's this beautiful thing. But for actually running the red lights, it wasn't until like 5 minutes into the race that it was like, this is what you have to do, like, to run a red light and avoid a car and like understand how to dodge the traffic and work with it. Like, and it's one of the dumbest things I've ever done. Now that I look back on like being settled down and like having a daughter, and it's like, Jesus Christ, I could have been a splat like very easily.
There was one time we took a train from Jersey into Philadelphia, and I dosed myself with ecstasy, and we had bikes, and my friend
Sounds awesome.
it was beautiful. My friend Taco, he had the bikes, and he gave me his bike. He's like, all right, the brakes don't work, so you gotta put your foot on the back tire.
Oh shit,
and,
break.
and stop it like that. I was like, Taco, there is no way this can feasibly happen. Like, I can barely ride a bicycle, dude. And especially like right now, like fucking like ready to disco dance the night away, like couldn't do it. So he's like, all right. He's like, this one's it's slower because I think it's like a mountain bike instead. I was like, dude, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna be slow. They got fixed gears. I'm gonna be slow anyway. But we meet up with my friend Matt and a couple of his messenger buddies, and they're like, this was the year that Michael Jackson died. So I think that was 2009. Was that summer that he died? But
Yeah.
there was this block party that had been going on in this house that had been going on for 4 days and had not stopped. And it was a Michael Jackson party. And they're like we should go there. I'm like, yeah, sure, sounds great.
Michael Jackson died like 4 years ago.
No. Maybe he died, but publicly, Michael Jackson died. Pretty sure it was 2009. But anywho, so they're like, they're telling me, all right, you just stay on this road, because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, guys, and I'm really kind of terrified in a happy way right now, Like, all right, so you just stay straight, don't make any turns, just stay straight. If the road curves, curve with it. and just, you will find us. Just keep going. I'm like, all right. So the first peril we encountered was this particular neighborhood that my pasty ass should not have been in, that they lead me through. And there's a group of black dudes standing on this porch, and one of the messenger dudes, I don't know what he said, but not only was it insensitive towards the dudes on the porch, it was very insensitive to me because I'm pulling up the caboose and now have to awkwardly ride past them like, hey fellas, with these guys, have a good evening. So, and it's like I don't know what he said. It wasn't, I don't think anything like racist or derogatory, but like
just enough to piss him off.
Yeah, it was asshole-ish, whatever he said. So like now I'm like, all right. So we're going around this curve in Philadelphia. It's near the waterfront, and there's a tunnel that you have to take on this one road because the interstate from the bridge traffic is coming down onto the highway. So I don't have a helmet on or anything. I'm going down this tunnel with traffic. It's like 45 miles an hour is the speed limit, and I'm keeping up with them on a mountain bike. I'm like, shit, dude. And I look as I'm going down. It's the tunnel shaped like a parabola, right? So it's like this big dippy letter U. And I hit some part of a rear view mirror that I guess where somebody like hit the side of the tunnel and then skirted back.
In the road, not like attached to a car.
Oh no! Thank God, oh no! But I hit it and then like I start swerving because I'm fucking barely bouncing on two wheels. I'm like, oh shit! So let me slow down a little bit. Well, I didn't then have enough oomph to get like all the way back up the other side of the arc. So now like they're like way the fuck ahead of me. I'm like like barely breathing to get up, and then I see a group of dudes like 7 blocks straight ahead. They're like, oh, we've been here like 20 minutes, man. We got worried for you. Phone was dead. I didn't have my keys with me. I didn't have my wallet with me because if I got busted because I was on drugs that night, I didn't want to have
anything to identify yourself.
Yeah, just in case.
That's a good idea.
Well, it wasn't until like that would have happened. Like, oh, who's that? I don't know.
Planning for the worst case scenario led you in a very bad.
The Michael Jackson party though was pretty cool though. It was definitely.
I bet on ecstasy.
You couldn't even get inside the house. Like, there was, like, probably 1,000 people slammed in this house and just Michael Jackson blaring. You see the whole house is literally buckling and, like, bending from so many people dancing. And they've got, like, weed plants outside, like, in the middle of Philadelphia. Like it's weird.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like something that would happen in Atlanta. That's whenever I was, like, in my youth and, like, ultra into cycling, like, probably early 20s, I would go up to Atlanta every, like, once a month probably, and all of our friends would go up there and we'd just caravan our bikes, park a car, put the bikes together, and then go and hang out with our friends. And I went up and they had the Shred House. And it was just this group of dudes that rode bikes. This guy brought it, he was like this big time weed dealer in Atlanta. Like, he brought in the mass amounts and divided it up between the different dealers there. Like, he was like the middleman up top. But he was just this dude that was into reggae and collects 45s and rides bikes. Like, super low. So I go and hang out with him. And he had gotten hit by a car the day before I got there. And he's like, dude, I'm not shredding right now, but if you want to come up, you can still crash. And there's a few parties lined up, so you know everybody. You're welcome to stay here. And I went to a party. It was the first time I ever had Four Loko. I was hanging out with this group of bicycle cocaine messengers called Skid Row, and we were fixed gear skids, Skid Row. Went to this fucking art party in Atlanta in this fucking giant warehouse. They had like projectors going with like independent films playing. There was like a dance party with like a runway where they did some kind of fashion show. It was sponsored by Four Loko. They just had these tables with people opening Four Loko and handing them to you.
What the fuck?
So I had, first and only time I've ever done this, I had like 4 or 5 of them, I was hanging out with Skid Row, not drinking enough water, and whenever we went to leave the party at like 3 o'clock in the morning, they took off, and I was in the middle of Atlanta.
I had to deliver some documents.
Terrified, phone's dead, don't know where I'm at, riding around, out of my mind, wasted. The only thing I remember is pulling up to this gas station, which was in College Park, and asking people for directions, how to get back to 5 Points. And I remember this one guy being like, yeah, man, put your bike in the back of my car and then I'll give you a ride there. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, man. He's like, no, man, come on. I'm like, all right, I'm going. And I remember riding around for like an hour trying to figure out where I was, and finally saw the Braves Stadium. And I was like, I know where I'm at. And like figured out how to like worm my way back. And I didn't even make it back to my friend's house. I called another friend and I was like, told them what had happened. I forget. Maybe my phone wasn't dead, but I didn't have GPS or something on it. I had like a flip phone or something because I kept smashing them because they'd fall out of my pocket riding a bike.
Word.
And I remember calling her, and she let me crash on her couch, and then I woke up and like went to my friend's house and had to recover for like a day and a half from drinking massive amounts of Four Loko and hanging out with Skid Row.
Yeah, they have. It's like a stimulant in it as well, right?
It was insane. I've seen pictures that come up. You know how Facebook will go back and tag your face since they have your face memorized now, and like see things and like have these flashbacks of things that happened that night. And it was like before I was old enough to black out. Like, remember that? Like when you were young enough to where you didn't black out?
I definitely see my Facebook memories. It's like Facebook memories. And I'm like, no. I'm good.
I usually go through and delete mine, depending on what they are. But like usually it was just like me, just like text that I've like written, like this is where my head is today. It's like
I don't want to see what I said 10 years ago.
Delete.
That's just not what it is now.
Oh no, I hate who I was 10 years ago.
I just signed
I hate
back
who I
into
was
my
like 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
I just signed back into my Twitter from like 15 years ago. Like,
but what do you do with the Twitter?
you go through and you delete everything that you've ever posted. My wife was like, "Your spelling's so horrible." I was like, "I didn't even know this existed." Like,
I was smart and never got a Twitter because,
Twitter's
dude,
for
Lord
stars.
knows I would have
smoking out on top of the VSU parking deck right now. Like, that's what Twitter was to me. Like,
here's my top 7 most offensive words of all time. You know what I like?
Yeah.
Just to be like a provocateur.
That's what Twitter's for.
That's
for the stars, though. It's for the movie stars and all the famous people, and they can talk about each other and try to get there. But we should all just like ignore it. Like that's it's not even a thing. If we all just don't pay attention to it, then it will just cease to exist. They can talk about themselves and just live in that world, and it'll be fine. I mean it's not a legitimate thing.
No, it's not. But you know, it is interesting that we're bombarded with these images.
All the famous people talking about Twitter.
Well, no, I'll just like value these people's opinions. These are celebrities. Look who these celebrities are endorsing for president.
Yeah.
Look who these celebrities
about
are, what causes they're for. So it's this notion, if you think about it, that they teach with modern day science that life is insignificant. It's just happenstantial. We're just so common. There's nothing uniquely cosmic about us. But these celebrities, mind
you, don't get a Twitter.
Their lives are important. What they talk about is important. You should model yourself after like some of their opinions. When it's really the opposite. Like, these folks are paid to say whatever the people who pay them want them to say.
People are playing a game.
Exactly.
Those people are doing exactly what we're doing, trying to make money.
That's all they're doing, and they're really, really good at it. Like, if you think about it, they've spent, like, since the 1960s, pretty much, they had a thing called Operation Mockingbird, where it's Mockingbird Media, where the CIA started implanting folks in television and in the film industry in order to, over time, sway public perception in a certain manner. And like they still do it. They still do it very, very well.
Absolutely.
Like, especially like where we're at like right now, like with all like this national crisis where you've got that cringy ass video of all those celebrities that are like, I take responsibility. I take responsibility. I take responsibility. It's like these folks don't give a shit about the perils of common folk America. They don't give a shit about any of the social problems in America. They are not tapped into it. Like, they're not. Like, they are apart from America. The celebrities, like, they are in these upper echelons. They don't have to worry about, like, keeping their job. They don't have to worry about whether or not their family is going to explode.
Yeah, sure they do. They absolutely have to worry about that. And so they repeat exactly what they're supposed to because they're getting paid.
Yeah. People don't like to think about it like that, though. Like,
yeah,
they like to think about it like, oh, well, that's, I know, but that guy's an Avenger, or that, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, they're in that movie, that show I really like.
I don't think anybody listening to this is gonna think that, which is pretty awesome.
I always, you know, like, I was younger, I always thought that, like, controversy and having, like, difficult discussions, for lack of a better term, like, these are always good things. They're rewarding, you know. Mm-hmm. And like we were talking earlier about, like, the art of communication has been lost to rhetoric, more or less. And from, well, do you keep up with your friends? Oh yeah, sure. Tom's down at the park right now. He's down at the lake, having a good time. When'd you talk to him? Oh, I didn't. I just saw on his newsfeed. That's what he's doing. You know what I mean? So it's the illusion of communication that it's brought us, and internet's like the best and worst thing that's ever happened to us, and social media as well.
Worst thing. It's great for learning, horrible for social environments.
I always thought it was gonna break things wide open, and maybe it has a little bit, but you know, I'm that age where in college Napster hit, and it was like I literally the year before listened to whatever the radio played because that's all there. I mean,
that's the only option.
How else would you get it?
Yeah, MTV had 120 minutes every Sunday,
right.
And they played weird shit. They had Yo MTV Raps every Saturday or Thursday. I forget when it was, but like those were the only two shows I knew of that I could access music for other than the radio station where I lived.
I remember it just blew my mind because it was like, you mean I could just like anything? I downloaded classical music. I mean, just went through the whole gamut of everything, and it was like I thought that the world's tastes were gonna, which is the least important thing. I mean, you know, screw art. But I mean, you know, it should have. But again, they figured out a way to they. I just they'd.
Well, it's what P2P sharing did. It allowed it to, you could exchange ideas without having to go through the record label. So then you could have independent artists that would just be, I mean, like me, like I own all my music, you know what I mean? Like, and I wouldn't dare like sign a deal with somebody for them to like get part ownership. That's a dumb deal in today's market. Like, you sign like a distribution deal. If anything, you want them to get a piece of it. Oh yeah, distribute it, market it. But ownership, no. You should always retain ownership over all of your stuff. But the Napster and stuff like that, it more or less it broke the levee for like this stranglehold that they had on essentially information, right? Because like now, like you could like discover all these bands and like that you could download, right? Sometimes. You could find new music because people would title.
They would change the title.
Yeah.
I discovered so many groups like that was just like...
If you like Finger 11, you'll love...
No, not even that. They would just call it something else, and then you would be like, wait, what is this? This is not that, but that's dope. That's awesome.
Tool's album, Lateralis... They put out a fake track list before it came out because Napster was big. So you saw all the fake files like afterwards of because Tool's fan base is like a cult following.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So they had all these like people trying to promote their music and like oh, it's Tetanus for Breakfast by Tool. It's like that song doesn't exist, but you still download it and be like oh, let's see what this tune's all about. It's good stuff.
That guy knows how to market himself.
Say what?
The lead singer of Tool.
Mm-hmm.
I've never given a shit about Tool. Never really liked it. And I watched his interview on Bro Jogan, and I was like, this guy's rad. Like, I mean, like, it was like, I want to actually listen to that music now and like understand what someone like that would create. And then I listened to it a little bit and I was like, nope. But I like his vineyard. He's got a great idea with his vineyard.
Pussifer is a lot different from Tool.
I watched that too. I was
Pussifer
on a big
will,
live kick where like I didn't want to listen to the music that they had focused too much on and watched a bunch of the live stuff. And I like the cinematics of it. That was one thing that like
I heard live it's not as impressive, but like there's like studio albums like Pussifer's really cool. They usually remix all their LPs as well. So
putting intensity into it and allowing themselves to show. But yeah, I guess that went on a tangent.
Well, I'll get like that with some artists as well. That like I think Morrissey's interesting, but I don't really care for him, right? Uh-huh. But there's still like there's songs that like the Smiths have where I'm just like, damn man, that's a fucking dynamite song.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
He knew what he was doing.
So
he still does.
Well, the artist and the art are not one and the same, right? So like, personally, there's I don't know if you guys know, but the whole thing about the Simpsons predicting the future and Matt Groening being a time traveler Mason or something like that, and the Simpsons have all this stuff throughout there.
How did you go from that to Morrissey? Tie this together.
But point being, with Matt Groening, there's he's on like some of these Epstein flight logs and whatnot. And supposedly he had visited the island. So, me personally, it's like, well, I know what was going on at that island.
The guy from The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
But I mean, dude, there were so many people that were like on these flight logs, man.
Yeah, but to that island, to hang
out
on
to the
Little
island.
St. John. What was
Little
it?
St. James.
Little St. James.
There's a lot of people on those flight logs.
I don't give a shit. If you were on that flight log, you're a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
There seems to be one thing according to that Netflix documentary.
I haven't watched a Netflix documentary. There's from what I gather, it focuses on just one era of Epstein. It also doesn't do justice to Les Wexner. Supposedly, Les Wexner in the documentary is shown to just being taken advantage of. Les Wexner is rumored to
Anybody involved in that?
Les Wexner is he's the owner of Victoria's Secret, or the head of Victoria's Secret.
Uh-huh.
He is rumored to be like
Is that the one that
top.
gave him the house?
Yeah.
That was like...
Yeah. So
they definitely spotlighted one person in it whenever, like, compared to, anybody involved in that. Anybody that visited seems to be there for one thing.
I heard the documentary didn't address the Clintons being in it.
Of course not. You're not going to step on their toes. You're not going to be on Netflix for that.
Well, and I saw reasons why is because, like, anybody that, the WikiLeaks leaks, they, the Clintons and the Obamas were like, there's some shady, like, fucking shit going on that we ain't got to get into the sordid details. But the Obamas invested in Netflix, and I have a feeling that the Epstein piece, while bringing truth to the matter, I don't think it addressed everything that much of what happened after the second arrest and after 2004 and 2005. I don't think it addressed Bill Gates being tied with Epstein, which he's also evidence of that as well. And he invests in Netflix, so like there's, to me it's damage control. But the Matt Groening thing,
I mean, Netflix is just like commercial television now.
It most certainly
you couldn't expect
is.
anything to be prolific on there that's going to actually expose anything these days.
Not in a documentary sense anyway. That if it already happened, they will. Like if it's past tense, then they will. but like that.
Well, society's like turned on the light bulb.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. Society
sure.
is still processing Jeff Epstein and what that is.
Society
I can see
does not
documentaries.
remember.
But The Simpsons, Homer, Bart, Marge, all of them, while they may be Matt Groening's creation, they are not him. The art and the artist are different. So
That's
the impact that Homer Simpson has had on my life, just because Matt Groening may be a piece of shit if he's implicated. Now, I'm not saying he is by any means. I'm just saying that if we're gonna start casting these stones, and not we casting it, but just in general, then got to look at it objectively. He is not the art that he made. He made the art, but he's not the art itself. So like even like Roman Polanski,
But the fans, you're also talking about the fans. The fans are also not the art.
Well,
the
the
people that follow it are not.
Are you-
It's easy to get those tangled up. I mean,
well, the fans I don't think are implicated by any means as far as what the artist does at all.
but it
at
works
all.
the other way too.
But I see what you're saying whenever you can say that well, since you're supporting this art or this music or whatnot, therefore you're supporting this. I don't buy that. For example, a lot of social justice warriors love David Bowie. Why not? It's fucking awesome. It's David fucking Bowie.
I wasn't aware of that combination.
I'm just saying, because SJW is very pro marginalized cultures, and anything that is outside of what used to be called heteronormative sexuality was marginalized back in the day. David Bowie was arguably, probably other than Little Richard, the only superstar at that time that was quote unquote openly gay in the music industry.
I didn't know David Bowie was gay.
He wasn't. It was a marketing ploy that his wife actually convinced him of, that it would be really good if he came out as being gay, and it worked to his advantage. However, at the same time, David Bowie was banging fucking teenagers. Every rock star in the 70s was banging fucking teenagers. So if they're gonna be grabbing their pitchforks and all that, or even saying that you shouldn't watch The Simpsons then if Matt Groening did this, or any other affiliation I have that.
So being homeschooled in a very conservative Christian household up until high school, I never watched The Simpsons.
Oh, you weren't allowed to watch it?
Now, was he the artist or was he like the person writing the scripts?
They were
Or
his
is he
creator.
the one writing the show? Like,
Well, he had a team as it went on, but he's the creator, so they're his characters.
okay.
He wrote the pilot for it.
I think the David Bowie thing's crazy. I didn't know that. But you could
Everybody did back then. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, anybody in the music and film industry, fucking Disco Days and Studio 54 and all that. They're fucking shooting up, Quaalude in their booty holes and snorting cocaine. It was fucking common. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somewhere there's been some sort of paradigm shift where you start realizing that well wait a second, you're encouraging predatory behaviors in a pederast kind of way with this, and I know it's not a what would you say, popular opinion or line to draw, but you can make the argument, you know what I mean? Point being, I don't think any of those arguments are valid. I'm not going to make those arguments, you know what I mean? I listened to David Bowie because I don't give a shit who he fucked or what he did in his private life. I listened to David Bowie for the music that he made. Mm-hmm. I watched The Simpsons because I don't give a fuck what Matt Groening does in his private life, you know what I mean? The art and the artist are separate. And until, I think, able to reconcile that, I don't think you're, I don't know. I think trying to pursue truth, you won't get there, if that makes sense.
I like how you did that, because normally whenever it started with the Smiths and with Morrissey, and most liberals still like Morrissey, most of them still like the Smiths, and yet he had a lot of, I guess, it's left leaning in Britain, but would be conservative views here in America that he has, and a lot of people on the left are just like, no, I love his music. And the next thing that people usually bring up is like Michael Jackson, because that's the most common one that they do. But then, like, segueing in, I didn't know that about The Simpsons. The whole fact that, like, he was involved with that is crazy.
There's numerous names on there.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Tucker was on there. Like, fucking Rush Hour. Chris Tucker was on there. Bill Nye.
No, not Bill Nye.
Stephen Hawking was on there.
He fucking autopiloted on?
I'm just...
What did he do? Just watch?
This was an island that they used to compromise
yes.
anybody, right?
That's another thing that they don't talk about. Is like,
It's not just a pedo island. It's not just a sexcapade island.
It was intentional.
Like this was designed to compromise people in a manner that could dictate how the world is shaped.
And so you can control them.
It's a glimpse in this whole island. Essentially, is a chess piece on a global stage, and none of us would have known about it at all if two things had happened. If Julian Assange hadn't had WikiLeaks, and if Hillary Clinton had not been made president. If Hillary Clinton had been made president because of all these implications that, like, where she's connected with this pedogate stuff and all this deep state, like, honeypot island Moloch worship, weird fucking shit, and she's tied into it, I don't think any of us would fucking know about it. So we have a rare opportunity now to see, like, because think about it, like 100 years from now, they're going to change the libraries, essentially, the internet, to dictate what the history books really show, right? So, like, they've done it before in this manner. So right now, we get a look at how this game of chess that they're playing, these world powers, like of global world powers, are playing. And they didn't mean for any of us to find out about this. And this island, this operation of Little St. James, is just one chess piece in an entire game that is going on. I think it's fucking wild. And more people aren't talking about it. More people are still... they're focused on whatever the media machine wants them to be angry about. Mm-hmm. I think that's a problem.
Absolutely.
It makes me sad watching my parents, who taught me growing up, we didn't have a television in the house, you know? We didn't have TV till I was in college, you know, in my dorm room. That was the first, like, cable television I ever had. And now they're watching the news, and it's like complete role reversal. Like, quit watching that garbage. It's gonna rot your mind. Like,
yeah. And then I grew up in the exact same thing. That's what I was talking about. Like, I feel like Zane and I both grew up in the exact same situation, but on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
I was sheltered through Catholic school, so I did Catholic school for 7 years.
Of course, you're an artist. Of course.
That's the other end of the triangle, maybe.
Maybe
there's not a spectrum, but a triangle.
I hold it against my father for not putting me through Catholic school.
I was in public school, kindergarten, and first grade, and then my dad. He came back from Gulf War 1.0 and told my mom that he wanted to get baptized and be a Catholic, and he wanted to put my brother and I through Catholic school. She was like, all right. So he did. So when I got to high school, they gave me a choice if I could keep going to a private school, which I didn't want to do, or I could just go to public school. And the public school was Lakeland in Lanier County, and my mom taught art there. So I went from having Catholic school to now your mom's a teacher at your high school.
Was she hot?
My mom? She's a pretty lady. I don't know if I would say hot.
I was 4'11" until after I graduated high school. So I just looked for anybody else getting picked on for anything else than what my life was like in high school.
I usually got picked on just for being odd, and I guess the words I choose to use. I like words, man. Like, I'm a word nerd.
You've always been a word of the day kind of like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, if somebody uses a word and I don't know what it means, then my mind is almost always going to be, I don't know that word. Can you tell me what that word means? And then I'll ask them to spell it, and I'll look it up, and I'll be like, oh, a new word. And I'll add it to the lexicon and just, shove it back down in.
I didn't learn about grammar until after college.
I always did math. I could get, like I was really good with it because it's memorization to me, right? So, but then when you start getting like more difficult concepts like trigonometry, like I could understand, but like I didn't shine or anything like that. And I wasn't like I'm gonna be a physicist. Like fuck no. I was always good with English though, and like writing, anything that had to do with like creating something, I was usually good at. And I like science, but I had a lot of shitty science teachers.
Me too.
And
I think it was tough to like. It would have been tough to teach me why are we learning this, and now I see math problems, at work sometimes, and it's like, man, that would be cool to how do I mathematically create that arc, and I want to know now. Can I go back to high school and learn it better?
YouTube, like fucking YouTube classes.
You were talking about me knowing how to take apart a lawnmower engine and put it back together. Like, it wasn't until bikes were the best thing that ever happened to me because it taught me how to teach myself.
That's
like,
cool.
That was
I
like,
understand that.
It's like that was the first thing in my life. Like, I mean, I was horrible in high school. Like, I did not fit into how that learning worked because, unfortunately, my mom never taught me how to learn like that. It was like, all right, I'm busy with your brother and sister. You be in your room, do these assignments. Like, it was kind of just like me with music. Like, let's just keep up. Like, I just want to keep up and get them through, And so it wasn't until bikes that I was like, this is how I take this apart. This is how I put it together. And this is what makes this work. This is what makes the gears shift. This is why it should be inflated at this PSI. Like, it made me finally look at an entire thing and understand why it works. And it translated to, okay, now I can do that with an engine. Like, so then I didn't need a car anymore. So I sold the car that I had and I bought a classic car, which is like so much simpler. And I knew nothing about it. Like, you remember that Fairlane. Like, it was a lot of hours of just fucking working on it and being like, I don't know. I think someone messed with it. Like, I don't know why it won't work. And then, like, I started to understand it, and it's like, well, I want a fucking truck now.
That's
So I
such
got
a cool
truck
like,
with a
venture,
different
though.
engine, and like started learning that. And then it was like, I can fucking learn anything now. It's like, I just have to take the time to make myself want to do it. And then I realized at like 25 that I'd been in like hardcore bands like when I was a kid, but I didn't know how to play a musical instrument, like other than like making like stupid like follow along kind of stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to start buying instruments. And so like at 25, I was working at the Blue Pub making cash money. So I was like, what's on Craigslist? And I started buying shit left and right and bought everything. And it was like, all right, who can I surround myself with to teach it? And then that's how I got involved with Zane with music, and then Wade and all them. And like, it was all just always figuring out what I could take in and bring in and learn from. So
That's cool.
what a journey. But yeah, that's like why I know how to put together an engine now. It's like, that's not that complex. Like, somebody at Home Depot put that together. Like, that came in a box, they put it together. They have a mechanic with like 10 screwdrivers and all 10 bits on it, and they put together 20 of these at one time, like, because they figured out that it's quicker to just do that. So it's like, all right, I can take that apart. And then like everything in our society now is just like a part that you take off and put back on. Like, there's nothing complex anymore. And so it's like, I can keep compartmentalizing things until you understand the whole thing. That's how I've taught myself how to learn. It's like, just take apart a little bit at a time.
I'm guilty as I can't do anything. I can't do any. If there's a hole in the wall, I can. I mean, maybe I can get. What do I get? Some spackle, Do I spackle it?
I think that's what it's called.
Spackle.
But like, dude, like anything I've done where I'm just like, all right, I don't know how to fix this, but I can fix this. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what the proper process is, but I can go to the internet and they can show me a video, and like I can learn so well with visual aids, like remarkably well. And my brain just works better than it does with reading it. Like auditory works for me better. It's just the way it is. But I'll find, like, as far as like being able to break something apart and understand how it works, like I'll get like that digitally with like the music, like in like making something like psychedelic music or just concept albums in general. Like I'm arranged my albums to where it's impossible for me to do it live. Like that's kind of like the whole point. It's like, yeah, it's just one dude.
That's what makes live amazing. That's my like favorite thing. Is like, how do I do this?
It's completely different ways to approach a problem, for lack of a better term, right? So like with like this latest project, aside from just like write songs, well, it's a lot more than that, man. Because like you have to engineer it, you have to use equalization, and or to make everything balanced, you have to pan things out. You have to use compression, like all of these like nuanced things, and plus like me, like I'm artsy fartsy, so like I'm like, I want some special effects and like bring in some like birds and streams and like stuff like that like into the album as well. So like I like taking the time with that, and it's such a long and tedious process, and to me the payoff for it is going to be like so much better than it would be if I was like working with other people and just like, all right, man, we should go ahead and finish it. Let's just do it. It's like, fuck, man. Like I've done collaborative art pieces before, and the ones that are actually enjoyable and something actually gets done is whenever someone gives me half an idea and they say, all right, there you go. And the rules are almost always you can add to, but you can't cover anything up. So like you can, like if somebody didn't finish coloring something or whatnot, well, that's fair grounds. Now you get to decide everything in there. You just can't cover up anybody else's stuff.
Range.
Yeah, so like you can get some really like cool collaborative pieces with people that want to play like in that sort of like realm. But then you have some people that'll be like, all right, you know what we should do? You should take the top half and I'll take the bottom half. It's like, fuck, man, can't we just fucking just make something and not like choreograph it to like be this certain thing? Like if I'm gonna take the time to choreograph and break something apart, like, and be meticulous with it, then like I want to do what you're talking about, like with the bicycles, and get to the point where like everything that's going on. So like whenever I listen to my mixes, I know every element is in there. And to like other people, they're not going to be able to pick that apart. It's not the way we process music as listeners, right? We look for the human voice first. That's what our ears will latch onto before anything else.
I always hate that.
It's just a program in us that we're like that's how we're wired. But whenever you can sort of like absorb yourself in like the entire scope of the music, especially when you are a musician and with repeat listens, then you can start to like hear like nuanced stuff. And like I always love that. My favorite albums that I'll go back to and I'll be like, golly, I wouldn't even remember like certain parts, or like you hear like a little piano riff or something just like gently play that you hadn't heard before. I always love that, and like try to emulate music to sound like that. So but to make the comparison with you going from that and then being like fuck, I want to learn a vehicle next and whatnot. The same thing with you, like with
spackling.
That's fair. But like learning like video, right? And like learn how to like edit video. If you can edit and pick apart like music or like a bicycle, the essentials of like the physical properties of what makes that itself, or fucking weird sentence. But whatever the physical properties are that make it a bicycle or make it music, and you can break it apart and reassemble it, you can then use that process for something larger, i.e. a vehicle or a movie. Because a movie will involve much more than just music, but it absolutely involves music at the same time. You know what I mean? So to be able to branch off and use that as a launching pad for learning how to intricately pick one thing apart and then use it to find other avenues. Like, to me, that's some like manly shit, because that's something primal in us. It's like, you're the guy in the cabin in the woods. Well, I'm not just gonna fucking sit around and waste my time. What can I learn? Like, I'm going to learn the woods around me. You know, you want to master your environment. And like, we're so spoiled in America through the 20th century and all the marvels that it brought, that like we can like we're all fucking musicians. Like, and at the same time, like we still have like other parts of our life as well. Versus if you wanted to be like a musician back in the day, well, your family had to come from phenomenal wealth, and that is going to be all you did was, well, you're a musician. Good luck, Thomas. Enjoy Juilliard. That's what you'll do.
I like to imagine like the person like off in the woods that had a guitar. Like, at what point like were you like, I want a guitar? Like, and maybe that was just something that didn't even happen. But like, I think about like 100 years ago, like somebody who is just like exploring the land and has been like, all right, this is where we're gonna have a family. All right, we made a few kids. I'm keeping us alive. I have a field planted. We have a few animals that's gonna keep us going. Like, when was he like, I'm gonna play a few G chords? Like, how that's an E A D G, like B E. Like, all right, this thing's in tune. So now I'm gonna go. I don't know why I'm giving him a southern voice. This is what I imagine with one. Like.
I don't think about that. I think about like there's this bridge whenever you're going to New Orleans, and it's like 10 miles long, and I'm just thinking like, what asshole said like, we're doing a bridge. We're doing a bridge. How far? Across the whole thing. Across the whole thing. Like, if it was up to me, I would have just said, well, there's water here. Like, we have to walk around. It takes like a legendary asshole to say,
let's go under it.
You effectively just made an argument against building bridges.
I literally think that when I'm driving on the bridge. Like, what an asshole.
I'm not saying it's a bad argument. I'm just saying I've never heard anybody approach it quite like that.
It's a
before.
long bridge, and it seems rather conceited that it would work, but it worked. I mean, you know, you can drive
I know
all
exactly.
the way. You could drive across water, and it's just like, yeah, this bridge is still going. Here we go.
I know the bridge you're talking about. Hang on.
I think the same thing. You know, if you take I-75 up and you know you go through Tennessee, Kentucky, and you're like driving through mountains that they just exploded because they needed this road to go through it, and it
Lake Pontchartrain. It's in Louisiana. Holy cow!
It's not when you're crossing the Mississippi.
It's this guy right here.
Yep. I would have just said, let's go around. Just go around it.
That was somebody getting paid. Somebody owed somebody money, and they're like, how about you build this bridge? Like, I'll make your company build this bridge.
And, well, there is another bridge at the, it looks like the eastern end of the lake, right? At the western end of the lake, there is another lake. So... But it looks like there's also another road that cuts on the western side. So it looks like they already had the means to go around, and then some asshole did come in and was just like, you know what, I bet you I can get from here to there.
I'm literally thinking that when I'm driving over. I'm like, what an asshole. Like, we couldn't, like, why do we
I don't think I've ever went over that. Like, whenever you were describing it, I pictured whenever you crossed the Mississippi. And so...
It's 10 minutes. I swear. It's 10 minutes drive across this I don't know.
It's a big old pond. It's a big pond.
So, Zane, now that you're into bikes, speaking of big bridges... Next time you're near Jekyll Island, you need to ride over that bridge.
I want to.
Oh, man.
So
the entry bridge to Jekyll
did
Island?
it on a No, it's actually the bridge from Jekyll Island to Brunswick.
Oh, that big mother. Holy cow,
I rode that
dude.
on a fixed gear. Like,
fuck
back
that.
when I was like,
I'm doing
piss and vinegar on a fixed gear with a very high ratio gear. So, like, whenever you ride a fixed gear, there's, like, the people that like the slow push where you like pedal slow and it's like you can go really fast if you're willing to crank it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the people that ride a high gear, which means you'd rather just pedal the shit out of it to go as fast as you could. And so it was really great for like sprinting and stuff. So in Valdosta, I was working for this courier company that was here. And so I was like, all right, I'm getting from point A to B, like zippity dippity hoppity hoo. Like, went and rode it over that bridge, and I was like, this is a great idea, because climbing the bridge, I'm going to be like going, and I was riding.
Don't tell me. I'm going to do it soon.
Well, you're not. Are you going to do it on fixed gear?
No.
You should. Take that white bike.
What else would you do it on? Like, I wouldn't want to go too slow over that thing.
Well, on a road bike where you can coast. Like, this is a fixed gear means that the back wheel and the crank are moving consecutively. There's no coasting. It is locked into place. So whatever the back wheel is doing, your cranks are communicating. So if you're pushing hard, the back wheel's pushing hard. And what it does is it makes you learn momentum, like to where you can keep it. And so like it's great for on a straightaway. You can usually go a lot faster because you're conserving momentum because you're not giving it away by coasting.
I got you.
But on a bridge.
Going down a fucking bridge that's steep as shit, I sped to a point where like my feet were going too fast and I just pulled them out and I put them in the center of the bike and I'm riding down it and I went from like being behind the cars to catching up to the cars to passing the cars on the side. But it's like the speed limit's 55. Like, what the fuck am I doing? It was like one of those points in my life where I was just like, oh, if I crash, I'm dead.
That's
like,
how this
is
I felt
over.
in the tunnel, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and I just held on, and I ended up doing the oh shit break. So I have the shoes that I rode on it, and so I had these like fancy road cycling shoes that have this hard plastic plate in them that clip into the pedal and everything. And I'd realized that I couldn't do that. Like that I just needed to unclip and let it do what it was going to do, and hang on and pray that I made it to the end. And I ended up reaching a point where I was like, I need to start slowing down. So I just put my foot on there, and it melted through the shoe. Like, it melted all the way through the plastic to the leather. And, like, I kept them. I still rode with them for a long, long time.
Is it normally, like difficult to brake with a fixed gear?
It's like a learn thing.
I imagine
Like,
you would need
there's
more
a-
time to brake, I would imagine.
It's a technique. No, you can stop just as fast as you could.
Really?
Just as fast as you could with a regular bike with locking up the back brake. Like, imagine, like, stopping on it is the exact same equivalent as, like, a coaster brake. Like, whenever you'd be on a cruiser where you back pedal and that makes the back wheel lock up.
Right.
It's the same difference.
Okay.
Like, everybody always thought it was crazy, but you just learn a technique where you're kind of...
I guess it has to do with, I guess, the speed that can be accomplished on a fixed gear. Because, like, you can see motherfuckers fly on a fixed gear bike, and I don't want to go that fast on a fucking bike, man.
It's a gearing. You just figure out where your ideal range is that you want to go, and you figure that out. But then once you learn the technique of actually locking it up, it's no different than riding a coaster brake.
Am I gonna freak out on this bridge though?
Just do it on a road bike where you have brakes. That's like whenever I was up in the mountains, the Blue Ridge Breakaway. Like, the final descent is 15 miles downhill, and it was raining. And so I'm going down it, and I had carbon rims with carbon brake pads, and I'm going down a hill, and I'm looking at my speedometer, and I'm doing 60 miles an hour, and I was like, all right, can I stop? Like, I realized, I was like, it's raining. Like, if I have to stop, can I stop? And I tried to stop, and I got down to 45 miles an hour. And that was all it would do. It was just like, just, and I was like, all right, time to hang on. Like, don't mess up.
I came across some article like not too long ago talking about that 45 miles an hour is the ideal travel time. As far as like if something were to happen at that speed, you like even like being ejected at 45 miles an hour, like still a fair amount of chance that like you can live from being ejected.
The next
that
year's
fast.
gonna suck.
Yeah, you're gonna hurt, but like you could possibly like come out just like what the fuck, you know what I mean, and like just have minor cuts and bruises. But it talked. There's a channel Number File that I follow on YouTube. It's just like math nerd type stuff. But it talked about the impact difference between just 60 miles an hour and 70 miles an hour, and that like you think it's only like a difference of 10 miles an hour, but there's
Velocity.
yeah, like they add that into it, and then all that reaches zero as well. So like the force impact from all that to zero, they take that into equation, and they show that like once you get past a certain threshold, and I think for a car they said like 60 miles an hour, anything over than that, then you start seeing like catastrophic damage almost guaranteed, like with every anytime impact reaches or speed reaches zero with it. And that the difference even between like 70 and 100 miles an hour was like something like 100 times, or not 100 times, but 100 miles an hour more, even though the difference between them was only 30. It's pretty nifty.
You're fucked after 45.
More or less, but like I'll catch myself doing that on. It's not too bad here, but like in West Virginia, like those windy ass fucking roads in the Appalachians, like where it'll be like speed limit 20 miles an hour. You're like, oh come on, dude, 20 miles an hour, and you start going downhill, and you're like, holy shit, I need to go fucking 20 miles an hour down this thing. Like,
You grew up in West? No.
Yeah. Yeah. We moved here when I was 12.
I went to college in Buckhannon, which is right around yonder.
Mm-hmm.
But I know those little mountain loop roads well.
Yeah, I grew up in Huntington. It's right there in the Ohio River Valley where West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio all meet. And my family had a cabin in a small town called Burgoo. And Burgoo they don't have a post office or anything like that. It's they may have a post office. I know they don't have a store, but it's in a part that's so deep in the Appalachians that you will get to a town. In this example, it's like Webster Spring is the name of the town. It's probably about hour and a half from the highway. Webster Spring, the road will take you in 3 or 4 different directions, and then that's the only road until you pretty much get to another like metropolitan area. And you think, because it's a small state, you're like oh well, it's not that far, but you're like literally having to go through like one mountain at a time and one little like pass at a time. It's beautiful though, like absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the Appalachians.
There's nothing prettier than the mountains.
Mm-mm.
When I did that Blue Ridge Breakaway ride, there were moments, I don't know if I was just in severe pain. I was also on steroids at the time.
Yeah.
Performance enhancement
Not the
drugs.
good ones. It was like a immunosuppressant steroids, but it definitely helped. Like I was fucking screaming. But climbing the hill, like it was like 10 miles of nothing but uphill, which takes like 2 hours of just like forcibly pushing yourself to keep up. And then there would be like waterfalls, and like I would just feel myself like welling up with tears. Like it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. and I'm on a bicycle. Like, so it's different when you're in a car and you're inside that cage, and maybe it's the same thing on a motorcycle, which would be way fucking easier than pedaling up the goddamn mountain. But, like, it was just the most, like, seeing beauty, like, in the purest form in nature.
Yeah.
Was incredible.
The air is different in the Appalachian Mountains. I've been to the Rockies before as well. They're fucking marvelous. Like, they're like twice the size of the fucking Appalachians. But, like, there's it's the same way, like, you go to a beach and, you know, when you go to, like, your favorite beach, you smell that salty air, and it's a particular scent where you're like, yeah, it's a good beach. You smell that in the air. The mountains have that as well. Like, they have this, like...
it's much cleaner.
Yeah.
Less Florida.
Yeah, much less Florida. Very much less Florida. Florida. Everybody, when they talk about fucking
Florida's
Southern
underrated.
culture, they're always like Alabama, Arkansas, West Virginia. Bro, Florida, everybody leaves them out completely.
Florida is underrated, I think. I think they're like the strangest little towns in Florida that you're like, why are you here? And, you know, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, like, no, literally, why are you here? Like, what is the reason that
There's like
this town is in this location?
There's a certain... You'll go to certain towns in Florida where it's like, this type of town is here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking, Lake City. Does Lake City ever strike you as, like, a Wild West town?
Yes.
Like, that you can just imagine, like, all the roads there before they even had pavement on them. Like, it still has that sort of feel to it. Like, the buildings are, like, wide set and stout on the streets. You know what I mean? Like, it has, like, that...
Cedar Key is like used to be a pirate. I mean, you know, Cedar Key is bizarre.
I've never been that far south of Florida.
It's weird. I guess they have that. What is that yearly Gainesville Fest? And it goes. They play concerts in Cedar Key and Gainesville and all around that area. But it's like
Cedar Key. Sorry, Cedar Key is one of the keys.
Yeah, my brain went to Longboat Key, which was one of the keys. It's like the most farther north key that there is.
But it would be a
It's a key. We know that.
It's a key. Well, because I mean, it's fucking Florida.
Or maybe
it's like
maybe it's fucking Florida. It's like
Yeah.
a whole island, and so they're calling it a key.
Dude, it
but
could be
it's
like
not
some
one of
like
the keys.
town like right across the border here, and like this is fucking like yeah, this here is Key Margot. I founded it in 1848. They told me I couldn't go to the island. That's fine. This is the first key, the northernmost key in Florida. Welcome to Key Margot.
But you go to, I mean, Madison. That's in Florida, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like you're in Georgia, and then all of a sudden, boom. I mean, there's a difference.
You know what's weird is there's like rolling hills in North Florida, and in South Georgia. Here, there's a little here. Like I mean, you know, we're like on top of a little hill like right now. But like if you go, like I like taking the back roads to Tallahassee.
There's some good hills coming in.
Yeah,
there.
man.
Yeah.
Like I like that. I like that.
That's if you ever go on any of the Madison rides with a cycling group. Like there's some
No, I'm not.
gnarly hills.
I don't want to bicycle in front of other people yet. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
I'm trying to actually figure out a way how to get some I don't want to go to the gym anymore with all this I'm not wearing a fucking mask. I'm just not. So I don't need to patronize a gym. I
feel like people going to a gym don't have to wear a mask. They're like, no.
I mean, it's already sort of like got that dirty atmosphere, like anyway, where they have to keep it sanitized, otherwise it will become
It's
like
disgusting. I
yes.
agree.
So I mean, but I'm also.
I don't think I've ever gone. I went to the YMCA when I was 20.
I was going to a local gym here, and I really liked it. But then I moved to a completely different area of the county.
It's all about convenience.
Yeah, and then all this crisis started happening. I was like, well, I'm not gonna sign up for a fucking membership somewhere. So I'm gonna look at getting some sort of device that I can have at home where I could like either a treadmill or a bike or something like that. It's the end of round 2.
Or a kayak.
I don't know. I'm bad luck flipping boats.
Well, no, just all the things that you're just gonna stuff in your garage. You know, it's 6 months.
Definitely, there's a buddy.
I want a
There's a
kayak.
buddy of mine in particular. I know that like
I want a
he got
treadmill.
he got a kayak. I've seen him use the kayak.
I want a
once.
ski.
I want a
A
kayak.
ski machine.
My wife the other day was like, "Have you ever wanted a boat?" And I was like, she was like,
Going in the garage.
"We should get one." No, it's like, I'm into it. Like, I don't give a shit about fishing, but I definitely like the thought of going out on a boat. But I'm concerned that it might be like a tandem bike. Like, you think a tandem bike with your partner is a great idea, but most people say that a tandem bike is spelled DIVORCE. Like,
I think that was the original spelling, if I'm not mistaken, the Gaelic version. No, I think that's I think it sets up a recipe to be disastrous. Plus, like, why would oh god?
well, it's a man's dream to have a good boat. So if my wife is asking me, "Have you ever wanted a boat?" It's like, what do you know? I think I do want one. So I want a 1448 John boat, and I've already picked out the canopy that I want for it. And so now I'm
Yeah.
reeling through Facebook Marketplace. Like,
Have you purchased a garage?
I have a garage. I have. 3 years ago, I purchased my first home, and it has a double carport.
Can't get a boat if you don't have a garage to put it in.
But yeah,
Well, if that was like some like legal agreement, like at like you know like you have, there's rules with like buying a car or a firearm or something like that, and to buy a boat, like all right, we're gonna have to see your garage.
what about your shed? Do you have a shed with a canopy to put it up under?
All right, and how large is your shed, sir? Sir, there's no reason to get frustrated. Is it a 16 by 4 UBX9 model, or is it a 17 by 8 XB419? Do you know any of these?
Did you build it, or did you acquire a permit for it and have a contractor build it for you?
And what do you need the hedge clippers for today? Trimming. All right, just insert your microchip into the little scanner. And thank you.
And here is your boat.
Thank you for shopping. Well, fellas, we got shy of about 3 hours on the books.
It felt like 9.
What was it? As frightful as you thought it would be?
I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
I had to poop so bad for the first 30 minutes. It was all I could think about, and I was like, I want this over. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like,
I've been peaceably holding my bladder in this whole time.
yeah.
Yeah, you have.
I peed
Good for you.
twice.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah.
you.
Had to. Gotta maintain. So, but thank you guys again for doing this, man. It was a lot of fun cutting
Cheers.
up. And I know we didn't get a full 3 hours about Cahvid
COVID, yeah.
as intended, but you know, we'll leave that for the sequel. Then we'll really unpack it.
Part 2.
Part 2. Jordan, Zane, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Had a blast.
Later, y'all.